What is going on, guys? We are live on TikTok, live on YouTube. Going to be doing a live best ball draft. I'm actually currently in a live draft right now on YouTube. It is the 7th round, and I'm not going to lie, I'm liking how this draft is starting a lot. Julian, what is going on? Isa, Casting Inc., how's it going? We are live on YouTube and TikTok doing a live draft. I'm about to be back on the clock. Check out my squad so far, guys. I started out this draft with 3 straight running backs. Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, then DeAndre Swift. I'm starting to really talk myself into DeAndre Swift in the 3rd round of fantasy drafts, specifically best ball. And I'm really liking how my wide receiver core is coming together here as well. I'm honestly considering Justin Herbert with this pick. I'm on the clock right now. And I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy instead. I traded CMC for Kittle, Gibson, and Godwin. It's a pretty good haul. If that's a Dynasty league, it's a pretty good haul. But just know that Christian McCaffrey is the single biggest advantage in all of fantasy football. I got a question. Would you want Cam Akers or Damian Harris in the 2nd round? Yes, a lot of people were not very happy with my recent TikTok hyping up Damian Harris and putting a lot of other running backs down. I certainly would prefer Cam Akers, though. I assume this is a not very serious question. Damian Harris, the nice thing about Damian Harris, guys, is that you're getting him in the 8th or 9th round. Cost matters a lot. David Montgomery, I'm telling y'all, get him. I love your lives. I like all your YouTube vids. Austin, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that. If you are watching live on YouTube, guys, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. That does really help me out a ton. We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now, going through a live best ball draft on YouTube where you can literally see the draft board as I'm drafting. But if you're watching live on TikTok, take a look at how this draft started for me. If you're watching live on YouTube, take a look. I had the 4th overall pick. I got Alvin Kamara. I like the 4th overall pick a lot this year. Because to me, after Christian McCaffrey, the next 3 guys are all kind of in the same tier. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara. I think I would rank them Dalvin Cook 1st, Derrick Henry 2nd, Alvin Kamara 3rd in a half PPR league. In a full PPR league, I think I would have Kamara over Derrick Henry. But regardless, guys, Alvin Kamara is a guy that could see over 100 targets this season. There's not that many running backs you can say that about. And honestly, all 3 of these guys are running backs that could realistically get over 100 targets. There's just not that big of a list of running backs where that's realistic. DeAndre Swift, yes, Jamal Williams is there. Yes, the offense is going to be terrible. The whole team is going to be terrible. They might not win a game this season. But DeAndre Swift could still see 100 targets. And if he does, he's going to be a valuable 3rd round pick. Sam, should I trade Alvin Kamara and Ridley for Hill and Cam Akers? No, I don't think I would do that. I think Alvin Kamara is pretty obviously better than Cam Akers. I would prefer Tyreek Hill to Calvin Ridley, but they're really not that far apart. And so I think you're giving up the best player in the trade, which is Alvin Kamara. And so I would not do that trade. It's a pretty fair deal, though. I'm not going to lie. Thoughts on Kenyon Drake in Dynasty? It finally let me download. Let's go, Nolan. That's what I'm talking about, man. There's a bunch of updates coming to the WalterPicks app really soon. So I'm excited that you were able to download it. If you guys haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to check it out. I've spent thousands of hours of my life building this app, and I work full-time for WalterPicks now. So go check it out in the iOS App Store if you haven't checked it out yet. You'll find everything in there that'll help you dominate your fantasy league. It's going to give you all the information you need for your draft, trades throughout the season, start-sit advice. Hey Sam, how's it going? Elephant Control Center. Some of the TikTok usernames really make me laugh. I am live on YouTube and TikTok right now, and I'm really liking the squad I am putting together in this draft. I did, Brady. I did. I am now full-time solely on the company that I have built, WalterPicks, the app that I have built. It is called WalterPicks, and I do believe I will be a teacher again at some point in my life, but I am excited to focus full-time on just one thing right now. I'm going to snag Tyler Higbee here, and I really do like in the 8th round, I'm getting my first tight end, and really, to me, there's like a big drop-off in the tight ends left. Take a look at the tight ends left if you're watching live on YouTube. Tyler Higbee is like the one guy left that I see has a lot of touchdown upside. But the other good part about grabbing Tyler Higbee for me is I already got Robert Woods, and so I get a nice little stack here, and maybe I could get Matthew Stafford to finish out the Rams stack. Congrats on the company. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. What pick did you have in this draft? The 4th overall pick. See, I had the 4th overall pick. I took Alvin Kamara 4th overall. If you're watching live on YouTube, I'll bring up the draft board here. I took Alvin Kamara 4th overall. In the 2nd round, Aaron Jones slid about 6 picks after he usually does. And I'm honestly starting to warm up to Aaron Jones a little bit in these best ball drafts in the 2nd round. A season-long league, I won't be drafting Aaron Jones unless I 100% know Aaron Rodgers is playing. But right now, with where we are at, and the format that I'm playing, which is best ball, I can talk myself into Aaron Jones at a decent value, 6 picks after he's normally picked. He still has really, really high upside, and he is a guy who's on an offense that needs receiving help, right? He could be the 2nd best receiver on the team, literally, after Devontae Adams. And the same thing goes for DeAndre Swift. This is why I'm opening up to DeAndre Swift in the 3rd round. DeAndre Swift could see 100 targets this season, and it wouldn't be that surprising. Allen Robinson, 100% over Robert Woods, definitely. I think he was taken about a full round earlier than Robert Woods in the draft I'm in now. I did take Robert Woods, though, in this draft. Taking a look at what's left here, let's take a look at the receivers. I think I want to go Michael Pittman. I'm done drafting running backs. Logan Thomas is also pretty... I'm actually going to go Logan Thomas. This will allow me to stop drafting tight ends. I really hope they don't have the same bye. They do not have the same bye week. So now I'm done drafting tight ends and running backs. The nice part about this strategy, guys, I started this team with 3 running backs, right? I drafted Alvin Kamara, I drafted Aaron Jones, I drafted DeAndre Swift, and these are all 3 guys. I need these guys to work out for me, for this team to work out. But I'm taking a high-risk, high-upside approach. If these 3 guys can just stay healthy for most of the season, I legitimately think this team, roster construction, could win me $1 million, which is what I'm playing for. If you're watching live, guys, on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. Seriously, this is my favorite time of the day. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. It takes you 2 seconds. You got an Android app yet or nah? Jay Fur, nah, we do not have an Android app yet, but it's definitely coming. The real question is when, not if, for the Android app. I'm optimistically hoping we have it before the NFL season. Really like the roadmap for us. We're releasing a new design of the WalterPicks app in probably the next month. It's probably going to take us the next month. There's going to be a lot of new feature updates with that as well. And then after that, we're trying to get the Android app out. Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill. I would go with Tyreek Hill right now. And I think that Tyreek Hill does have just more upside tethered to Patrick Mahomes. But if Aaron Rodgers is playing, it's Devontae Adams. I mean, Devontae Adams is the number 1 fantasy football wide receiver and arguably the number 1 receiver, period, when Aaron Rodgers is with him. The question is Aaron Rodgers going to play? Can someone tell me? Can anyone tell me confidently? Is Aaron Rodgers going to play this season? Because I certainly am not confident about it. I've drafted a few teams already with Aaron Rodgers because I feel like there is a chance he plays, and if he does end up playing, he's going to cost more than what he costs now in the fantasy drafts I'm doing. Sergio, what is up, man? How's it going? Is Lamar Jackson worthy of being picked before round 6? Luke, take a look. I drafted Lamar Jackson in this draft I'm doing right now in round 5. Round 5 for me is pretty good value, Luke, for Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, or Josh Allen. And in almost all of the best ball drafts I've done, they're around in round 5. And the additional benefit of doing this in a best ball draft, where I don't make start-sit decisions, and I'm only doing the draft, and then my best lineup submitted for me at the end of each week, the additional benefit of drafting a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Kyler Murray in the 5th round is then you only have to draft 2 quarterbacks, which frees up another roster spot for the more important positions, namely wide receiver, which is the most important position to have a lot of players in. So by drafting Lamar Jackson, now I only need to draft 1 more quarterback. And I can actually wait like a very long time. Why wouldn't Damien Harris be a valued pick? He has a top offensive line and a coach that likes to run the ball along with competition. Yeah, I agree. I think that Damien Harris is one of the most obvious fantasy football values right now. He's one of my favorite sleepers in fantasy. And I'm drafting most of my running backs very early. But if I don't, and if some receiver value falls in the 1st and 2nd round, or I end up drafting Travis Kelce or Darren Waller in the 1st or 2nd round, then I usually wait for Damian Harris in the 8th or 9th round. Damian Harris had at least 10 carries in every single game he played in except for one last season. And he has a far superior offensive line this year. The Patriots' offensive line is the only hope I have for them as a Patriots fan. I'm going to take Russell Gage here pretty happily. I'm liking how my receivers are coming together. I think this team, honestly, might be one of the best teams I've drafted. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, we are live on YouTube as well, and you can literally see the draft board that I am drafting in right now. It's a $25 best ball league where I'm competing for $1 million. So far, this is how the draft started. I got Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift. I'm going with the hyper-fragile running back roster construction, which has been my favorite roster construction for best ball all offseason. This is about my 130th draft. I know I've been drafting for way too long, but the 3 running backs allows me to focus on the other positions the rest of the draft. I took Robert Woods in the 4th round, then Lamar Jackson in the 5th. I followed that up with Chase Claypool and Jerry Jeudy, 2 young receivers that to me are very much boom-bust wide receivers, but very good for best ball. I think that close to half of their games could be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1 weeks. I then drafted 2 straight tight ends, Tyler Higbee and Logan Thomas. Guys, Logan Thomas balled out with Alex Smith last year, and I feel like a lot of people, there's 12 people in this draft. There is a lot of people out there that are saying that Logan Thomas was only successful because of Alex Smith, and I don't really agree with the logic there. Does Alex Smith really the main reason for Logan Thomas's success last year? Because if you really look into it, and I'm back on the clock here, I'm very intrigued by Rashad Bateman. Yeah, I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman because I already drafted Lamar Jackson, and I do really like that stack. I don't think Rashad Bateman is going to be at all consistent this year, but I do think he's going to have some exciting weeks, and I do think he's going to be the number 1 receiver for the Ravens this year. I think the biggest concern for Rashad Bateman is actually Sammy Watkins and how involved Sammy Watkins is. But because I already drafted Lamar Jackson, I don't hate adding Rashad Bateman in the 11th round. It's a little early, but I don't hate it. People sleeping on Mike Gesicki. Yeah, I agree, Nick. And this is back on the Logan Thomas thing. This is the other part about Logan Thomas. Ryan Fitzmagic actually was pretty good with Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki was pretty good with Ryan Fitzmagic. So I do think that Logan Thomas, and if you look at Logan Thomas, he was actually number 5 in the league in deep targets last season at the tight end position. And most of his points did come from checkdowns. But it wasn't like he wasn't running vertical routes. And if anything, changing those short targets into deeper targets is going to help his fantasy value. It's going to give him more upside, not less upside, as long as the targets are still there. And I think they could end up being a more pass-heavy team with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, yeah, Washington is, Jack, you're right, very sneaky good. Washington's defense could be top 5 defense in the NFL, literally. That's how good their defense could be. And their offense is much improved. They went out and got Curtis Samuel. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is the best quarterback that's been there in a while. We just saw last season Ryan Fitzpatrick can win games. Sam, are you hiring? Miles, I appreciate the question. And no, at the current moment, we are not hiring. We actually just finished hiring 32 TikTok creators, which I'm really excited to introduce to the world in the next coming weeks. And so we have finished kind of our hiring for the season at the moment, but we definitely will have future positions open in the future, so definitely stay tuned. Who wins this trade? Ridley and Alvin Kamara for Akers and Hill. I think I already talked about this one. I like the Ridley and Alvin Kamara side. Sam, what is Calvin Ridley's worth based off the other receivers, not pick-wise? I think that Calvin Ridley is a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Yeah, Fitzmagic does use his tight ends a lot. I think that there's a big drop-off, honestly. Like, take a look at the tight ends left, and I saw someone ask about Irv Smith in the YouTube comments. Maxwell, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the question. I'm not that into Irv Smith. And honestly, it has less to do with Irv Smith, as it often does in fantasy. It has less to do for me with Irv Smith, the actual player, than the situation. He finds himself on a run-first team. Take a look who was just drafted, by the way. I think this is a little early to be taking Alexander Madison in the 12th round. But this is why we draft our running backs early. We don't have to reach for backup running backs in the 12th round. But anyway, back to the point. He's on a run-first team, and he's at best, the 4th option. in the passing game because I rank Dalvin Cook ahead of him in the passing game. So we have Adam Thielen, we have Justin Jefferson, we have Dalvin Cook, then Irv Smith on already a run-first team. Like, he's going to need such hyper-efficiency to return value at that volume level. So for that reason, I'm out on Irv Smith. And honestly, if you look at this tight end list with me, if you're watching live on YouTube, like, I don't trust any of these tight ends. Literally all of these tight ends are probably going to suck. Irv Smith, Evan Ingram probably will have some spike weeks, but has a lot of competition now. Robert Tonyan, maybe I could talk myself into him if Aaron Rodgers does play. Gronk, no, he's not going to be consistent. Anthony Ferguson, no. Julio Jones is there now. Jonnu Smith, no. The Patriots' passing attack is going to do nothing. Blake Jarwin, maybe the fifth option in the offense. Jared Cook, filling the Hunter Henry role last season, which wasn't that great. Cole Kmet, starter, but also third or fourth option for what likely will be Andy Dalton or a rookie quarterback. Like, there's just so many holes in so many tight ends. This is just the nature of the tight end position these days. And I'm back on the clock. I think I'm going to go actually with John Brown. Another week 8 bye. I need one more quarterback, but I'm still going to wait. I think that the reason I'm waiting a lot on quarterback, like I'm honestly totally fine waiting for Jameis Winston or waiting for Daniel Jones, and I can still get them in a full another round at least. So there's no need for me to spend up at the quarterback position. Honestly, Tua and Wentz, those guys are both also interesting to me. But again, I already drafted Lamar Jackson on this team, and so my team's gonna live or die by Lamar. I'm gonna need to have him. He's gonna need to have a good season for this team to actually give me a chance. Would you draft Walter in the third or fourth round? I'd probably draft Walter in the third. Thoughts on Derrick Henry? I'm concerned he's either going to regress or get injured. Yeah, Miles, with the injured thing, like, let's not pretend like we know who's going to get injured. Yeah, Derrick Henry's had a huge workload for many seasons in a row now, but every other running back being drafted right around him, I'd say, has equally close to as high of an injury risk, right? Like, they all are running backs. They play the most injury-prone position in the NFL. So they all have a pretty good chance of getting injured. Some of them will get injured, but we don't know which ones that's going to be. So don't let that scare you off of Derrick Henry. I think the other concern is a little realistic. Should we be concerned that Derrick Henry is going to regress? I think that Derrick Henry's volume is going to continue to be there. And I honestly think he is going to continue to absolutely dominate in the NFL. He is the first running back in the NFL history since Barry Sanders. And I think it was like the early 2000s to run for averaging over 100 yards per game. Guys, Derrick Henry has averaged over 100 rushing yards per game in back-to-back seasons for the first time in the NFL history since Barry Sanders. If he does it again this season, it will be the first time in NFL history anyone has ever done that in 3 straight seasons. And this is the most pass-heavy era of all time in the NFL. Holden, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm ready for the fantasy football hype, man. I get excited. I'm so excited that there's consistent drafts, man. I'm pumped. I've done a lot of drafts already, but I'm excited. Sam, when will we be able to use the trade analyzer? Ben, this is a good question. Honestly, probably in the next couple of weeks. In the next couple of weeks, the trade analyzer should be up and running. That's a good question, man. I'll get that updated very soon. Thoughts on taking Jalen Hurts early? Yeah, I do have thoughts on this. If you take a look, if you're watching live on YouTube, again, I'm doing a live draft right now on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, this is how the draft started for me. But we're much deeper into the draft now. We're in round 14. I just drafted Tua. He's my second quarterback. I'm done drafting quarterbacks now. But Jalen Hurts, if we look at this draft, someone asked about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts went in the 8th round. I've seen him go as early as the 7th round. He's going as like the 7th quarterback off the board. And there's good reason for this, right? We know he's going to be extremely run-heavy. I actually rewatched his first 3 starts yesterday morning when I was eating breakfast. I rewatched his first 3 starts. And the rushing volume that he gets and his willingness to run is why he's being picked so early. And it's rightfully so. We know rushing has a huge, huge impact on fantasy points. And so I do think he's actually a relatively safe pick in the 7th and 8th round. If you just want to lock in a guy that we are pretty confident, if he stays healthy, will be a top 10 quarterback and will be consistent because of his rushing floor, yeah, I think you can feel good about Jalen Hurts in the 7th and 8th round. And the last reason I really like Jalen Hurts is because, as you all know, I absolutely love Devonta Smith, and it's going to be, and he's going to transcend, honestly, guys, the entire Eagles offense. People don't quite realize what Devonta Smith is yet. I'm drafting Devonta Smith in the 7th round very, very consistently. He's been my most drafted player so far. Show the rest of your team. If you come to YouTube, you can see the rest of my team. Yeah, Holden, that's a good question. How do you feel about Zeke? I feel great about Zeke. Honestly, I felt good about him from the start since I've been drafting for really over the last month. Yo, when do you recommend we draft? Early August? Honestly, the earlier you draft, the closer you draft to the NFL season, the better for your season-long leagues, because guys are going to get hurt in the preseason, right? This happens all the time. For your important season-long leagues, I think the earlier you draft to the season, the better. But there is something fun about drafting like mid-early August, and then you have to watch to see how your draft picks went with the training camp and the preseason and stuff. I do feel good about Zeke. Preston, thank you for the question, man. Sorry, I'm answering questions on TikTok, on YouTube. I'm also trying to make sure I don't mess up this draft because I have started this draft really well. I'm honestly really thinking this is one of the best teams I've drafted so far. And let me talk a little bit about best ball strategy. Yeah, I can't show my team. This is the squad so far. I'm about to be back on the clock. I have Lamar Jackson and Tua now at quarterback. I got Tua 5 picks after ADP, average draft position, which I'm all in for. Guys, the weird thing about Tua is he's upgraded, right? The whole offense is upgraded. They have Jalen Waddle now and Will Fuller now. And both of those guys are getting picked relatively in the middle of drafts. Yet Tua is going very, very late. He's going as quarterback 25. People do not believe in Tua. And Tua might not work out. I do think he has a lot more upside, though, than people realize. Same thing, honestly, goes for Carson Wentz. I think one of Tua or Carson Wentz is going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. Cole Beasley's still around, and I can't get myself to draft Cole Beasley. He actually might not play because of the COVID protocols. So I'm out on Cole Beasley. I think I will take Brashad Perriman, though. I did draft DeAndre Swift, so I don't love. I'm actually going to go here instead. I like taking dart throws on the rookie wide receivers late in drafts. De'Ami Brown is one of them. I know that he has kind of a tough path to volume, right, because of Terry McLaurin, because of Curtis Samuel now in Washington. But I do think if De'Ami Brown can be hyper efficient, I do think that he could return value. How many players are you doing in your drafts? 10? No, so much more than that. I think this is an 18-round draft, if I'm not wrong. So I'm drafting a lot of wide receivers, and the reason I'm doing that, this is a best ball draft. My best lineup's automatically submitted for me. Wide receivers are terrible. Yeah, so this is a best ball draft, right? It's important to understand how these leagues work. All we do is the draft and nothing else. Literally nothing else. So my best lineup is automatically submitted for me at the end of each week. There's no adding, dropping, or trading, which makes roster construction extremely, extremely important. I'm going to take Sterling Shepard here. I know that the Giants added a lot of weapons, but I am now drafting just for a few spike weeks, right? This is why I draft 3 running backs to start out, because the drop-off in running backs after the 3rd round, really after DeAndre Swift for me, is just colossal. And I don't feel good about any of the running backs really after the 3rd round. I think Damian Harris is a sleeper, but he also probably isn't going to work out. There's so much risk after the 3rd round of running back, and there's still good receivers available. I then drafted 2 tight ends relatively early. I took Tyler Higbee. If we go to the draft board here, I took Tyler Higbee in the 8th round. And then I took Logan Thomas in the 9th round because again, I don't like the drop-off in tight end literally after those 2 guys. Look at the tight ends drafted after Logan Thomas. Mike Gesicki, he has a lot more competition now. Adam Trotman, I do actually like a decent amount. Gerald Everett, I like as well. Look how early they're going, though. 11th round. 12th round, Irv Smith, Robert Tonyan. I could talk myself into Tonyan, but I think Logan Thomas and Tyler Higbee could provide consistent weekly upside. And it gives me enough confidence to just only draft 2 tight ends. And because I've drafted 3 stud running backs, 2 pretty good tight ends, and I got Lamar Jackson, which allows me to only draft one more QB, the rest of my team's wide receivers, and that basically makes it okay that I didn't invest early draft capital in wide receiver, because I'm just drafting a lot of guys, and I don't need to guess which of these guys are going to start for me each week. I just need them to have occasionally good weeks, and then they will automatically be inputted into my lineup. How do you feel about Julio Jones, Christian? Honestly, I was really excited about the Julio Jones trade when it first happened. And by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube right now, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't liked and subscribed yet. I really do appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. But how do I feel about Julio Jones? Well, first of all, let me start here. I think Julio Jones, talent-wise, is a lot better than what the average person realizes right now. And I keep going back to the Julio Jones versus Michael Thomas comparison. Michael Thomas and Julio Jones were disappointing last season, but they had different seasons, and I feel like it's important to understand the context of both of their seasons. Julio Jones and Michael Thomas, they both dealt with injuries. The big difference was when Julio Jones played last year, guys, he balled out. He was the third most efficient wide receiver, actually, in the NFL. Literally the third most efficient wide receiver in the NFL was Julio Jones last season. When he was on the field, you could not stop him. He was averaging 86 yards a game, and he was number 3 in yards per route run. He still is an insanely talented receiver if he can just stay healthy. So I want to start there, and I think he's going to uplift the entire Titans offense. I can't believe all of a sudden, there was most of the offseason, it felt like just A.J. Brown was going to be the entire Titans offense with Derrick Henry, and the number 2 receiver was going to be Josh Reynolds. And now all of a sudden they got Julio Jones, and they have the best duo of wide receivers in the league. But from a fantasy football perspective, which is what I think you meant by how do you feel about Julio Jones in the comments, I don't love him. I don't love him in fantasy. I think that he's going to have, don't get me wrong, some really good weeks for all those reasons I just explained, but I also think he could be pretty inconsistent. I think he could end up being pretty inconsistent. I think that Derrick Henry is going to continue to get the ball a lot when the Titans are in the lead. And I just think there's going to be some games where Julio Jones gets no more than 5 targets. So I think from a season-long perspective, he's going in the 5th round. Keyword stay healthy. Yeah, that is the key word for Julio Jones, but that's also the key word for Michael Thomas. I would argue that's also the key word for Michael Thomas. Do you do basketball? Yeah, Santiago. I'll take you to the basketball court anytime, man. No, we do basketball. Check out in the WalterPicks app, guys. We had basketball all season long. It was a fantastic time. I think I'm gonna go. I can't stand that I keep drafting AJ Green. I need to stop drafting AJ Green. AJ Green is toast. He's definitely toast. If you watched any of his snaps last season, he's clearly toast. But I continue to draft him because I know the Cardinals are going to play him. Guys, it is inevitable. It is inevitable. Week 1, first snap for the Arizona Cardinals, AJ Green is going to be on the field. AJ Green's going to be on the field for that first snap. There's no doubt in my mind that AJ Green doesn't see that first snap. But, how long is AJ Green really going to last? Because if you watched him at all last season, AJ Green's completely toast. Who's your favorite sleeper? I think West Side. One of my favorite sleepers is Damian Harris. If you miss on any of the really good running backs in the first 3 rounds, Damian Harris running behind a potentially top 3 offensive line. I'll be conservative and say top 5. And he is on a team that gave him at least 10 carries in every single game that he played. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok right now, we are live on YouTube also going through a live draft where you can literally see the draft board as I am drafting. Just look up WalterPicks on YouTube. We're about to be back on the clock. I'm going to get to some of the YouTube comments in just a moment after this pick. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Opinion on Ridley. Yeah, Calvin Ridley is a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football now, guys, and it's going to be this way for a while. All Calvin Ridley has done since he entered the league is ball out. That's literally all he's done. He's done nothing differently. Calvin Ridley, guys, he had over 100 yards in 5 out of 7 of the games he played without Julio Jones last season. Let me say this one more time because you got to understand how good Calvin Ridley's going to be this year. He had I think it was actually 120 yards, over 120 in 5 out of the 7 games he played without Julio Jones last season. The 2 that didn't go over 120 yards, I think he still had 50 yards. He is going to absolutely dominate. Asked by Mike Memes, I like this one. Key players to target in round 6 through 8 in YouTube comments. I promise I'm going to get to the YouTube comments in a second. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, hit that like button. I do really, really appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. It takes you 2 seconds. And hit that subscribe button too if you haven't subscribed yet. We're going to be putting out a lot of YouTube comment coming very soon. But key players to target in round 6 to 8. If you're watching live on YouTube, come take a look at the draft board in round 6 to 8. This is a real draft. $25 on the line. We're all competing for $1 million. The nice part about best ball is that this is like batting practice for me, right? I'm preparing for my big high stakes leagues that are going to be drafting like season long leagues in August. And this gives me a sense of when players are drafted. And I don't think there's a player I like more in the 6th round. The 6th round. Odell Beckham Jr. went in 1 pick before the 6th round. I like him a lot if he slides to the 6th round. I'm starting to talk myself into Travis Etienne in the 6th round. I think that he is going to start to rise up draft boards as we get closer to the season and as we start to see how good of a receiver he is, because I do think that Travis Etienne could approach 80 targets this season. I do think he could approach 80 targets this season. I also do like Chase Claypool, and that's who I took in this draft in the 6th round. I went with Chase Claypool because to me, Chase Claypool has a massive, massive touchdown upside. We saw it last season, and this is also a best ball league. In the 7th round, though, the player that I have been drafting literally as much as I possibly can, because I know he's going to be picked earlier and earlier and earlier as we get closer to the season, is Devonta Smith. Just wait, guys. Just wait for the clip of Devonta Smith absolutely posterizing people in training camp and in preseason. And when that happens, he's going to fly up draft board. And so I'm trying to draft him as much as possible in round 7. Guys, Devonta Smith is good at everything about football. He is in insane speed, incredible hands, pristine route running. He is good at literally everything. The only thing Devonta Smith can be knocked for is his size. But I'm not that concerned about his size because he has every other attribute you want in a receiver. Best running back 2 in 2nd and 3rd round PPR. Yeah, this is a good question. This is a very good question. Nailing running backs is literally what is the best website to play fantasy football for money. It's definitely Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't used Underdog yet, they have a fantastic app and a fantastic website. That's what I'm drafting on right now. And I would, if you do sign up, guys, use code Walter. We actually just started a partnership with Underdog. If you use the code Walter when you sign up, when you deposit your first $25, they will give you a free $25. A free $25, actually, if you just use code Walter. And they are definitely my favorite platform to draft on. So I'm really excited about the partnership with them. Best running back 2 in 2nd and 3rd round PPR. In 2nd round, it depends who falls to the 2nd round. If Austin Eckler or Cam Akers are in the 2nd round, which honestly most of the time they haven't been. In this draft, though, if you're watching live on YouTube, look at where Austin Eckler went. Look at that team. That guy got Saquon Barkley and Austin Eckler on the same team. That team's absolutely insane. Austin Eckler in the 2nd round is a cheat code. Literally, he should not leave the 1st round. After him, though, I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. At the end of the 2nd round, I was pretty happily taking him. Let me see if Darrell Williams is still around. I will take him if he is. It doesn't look like it. So I'll go with another receiver here with Quintez Cephas. And I believe that's my last pick. Yes, it is. We finished this team. This is a super hyper fragile roster. 11 wide receivers. I honestly believe, though, this is the type of roster construction that's going to end up winning the $1 million. I really do. What is your draft strategy for high stakes redraft leagues? Jeremy, what a fantastic question. I am in a lot of high stakes redraft leagues, and I do think about this stuff a lot. And I've done a lot of research into this, and I think this will be a good YouTube video, I think, in the future as we get closer to the high-stakes redraft season, which is really around the corner. But my favorite redraft strategy is 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. There's just such a big drop-off in running backs, and I do think the late-round quarterback strategy remains the best approach. Best wide receiver 2. Yeah, I think that Devonta Smith is probably one of my favorite wide receiver 2s, and this is exactly also why, Edward, I would draft Jalen Hurts in the 7th and 8th round, because first of all, he's the rushing floor, which we love from our quarterbacks, but second of all, he has Devonta Smith, who I believe is going to ball out in the NFL, so I do think he's a really good option as well. Guys, I think we have enough people tuned in right now to get a draft with all of us in it. So we're going to try it out. So to join this draft, if you want to join a draft with me live right now, you, the viewers, you can do this. All you need to do is to go to Underdog. And you need to... Let me rephrase. First of all, if you're in the YouTube, I'll send the link. If you're watching live on YouTube, there's the link. Just tap that link and it will bring you right to the Underdog draft. If you aren't in the YouTube live, well, first of all, come to the YouTube live. Look up WalterPicks on YouTube where you can literally watch the draft live and see the draft board. But if you're not going to come to the YouTube stream, just go to our link tree in TikTok. If you click on the Draft with Sam button on the link tree, it will also bring you right to the draft. So come check out this draft. If we get 11 people to join, guys, we can do a draft. It's a $5 draft. $5 draft. There will be prizes for the winners. If you're watching live on YouTube, we can take a look at this where we can literally see the prizes and the settings. There will be $54 in prizes. So $5 entry. First place is going to get $32. Second place gets $17. Third place gets $5, so their money back. It's a $5 fee to enter. And then we will do a draft against each other live on this TikTok stream, on this YouTube stream. I will talk through my draft strategy. I'll tell you why your picks are all terrible. I'll compliment your picks if I think they're good. This is a best ball league, so all we're doing is the draft. There's no in-season management. What fantasy football magazines do you like? Wow, Vincent, this is an amazing question. How do I join? All you need to do to join is literally just click the link that I sent on the YouTube stream, or go to our link tree. Go to our link tree in any of our social media platforms. You can find it right in TikTok, and click on the top thing right there. And someone asked, well, what magazines do I like? I used to love the fantasy football magazines. That used to be what I did. I would read all of them, and that was my research. Now, just use the WalterPicks app, which I helped build, and is way better than any magazine you could find, and it's actually it's about the same price. And it's an app on your phone that literally will sync to your draft and give you live draft advice. It's called WalterPicks on the App Store. You got to check it out. Hi, how are you? Kyle, I'm doing great, man. What do you think about Noah Fant? Nick, I saw that question. I appreciate the question, man. What I think about Noah Fant. What do I think about Noah Fant? I think that he's a guy that is going to be hard to trust on a weekly basis. I don't think he's going to be very consistent. Behind Jared Jeudy, behind Courtland Sutton, behind Javonte Williams, I don't think you want him. He's not that much different than Irv Smith to me. Like, he's definitely better than Irv Smith, but he's still on a run-first team with a not very good quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers would change that whole situation, though. Guys, if you want to draft live against me, we got one person in. Let's go. What inspired the name WalterPicks? This is a great. I like different opinions too, Vince. Vin Zenith, I agree. I think you absolutely need to get different opinions, and you can't be overconfident in just one opinion. But what inspired the name WalterPicks? Well, Walter is the name of our algorithm. The algorithm that I helped build. I took a machine learning class in college with my co-founder Dylan, and we built this machine learning algorithm. We named the algorithm Walter, partially because every good algorithm has a name, right? You only know of algorithms that have names, and you probably don't know of algorithms that don't have names. So we named it Walter, and then later on we ended up building an app that was powered by Walter, which is why it ended up being called WalterPicks. I'm in as No Chill FF. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Cigar City Cards. Thanks, man. How do I join the fantasy draft? All you got to do is go to the link tree. Literally just go to the link tree. Go to the link tree. It's a half PPR league. There's 10 more spots. App coming to Android soon. Yes, it is. It says $5 to join. Yes, it is $5 to join. It is $5 to join. I'm being very transparent about that. $5 to join. First place does get money, though. It is a real league. This is a real league. This is not a mock draft. I'm not into the whole mock draft thing because I don't think you really, really know player value unless it's an actual league. Is WalterPicks more accurate than CBS and ESPN? Yeah, Jeremy. So we've been tracking our projections against ESPN and Yahoo and Fantasy Pros and NumberFire and PFF and a lot of other services, and we've been more accurate than them for 2 consecutive seasons. 2 consecutive seasons, we have been significantly more accurate than every other service out there. There's several different reasons I believe we've been able to do it and why I believe we'll continue to be able to do it. But yes, we have been the most accurate projection service literally out there for 2 consecutive seasons. How much does first get? Yeah, let me pull this up again. If you're watching live on YouTube, First place gets $32. It's $5 to enter. There's a 10% rake. So Underdog takes 10%. So everyone puts in $5, 12-person league, $32 to first place, $17 to second place, $5 to third place. And I think Underdog takes $5. So it's everyone enters $5. They take one entry fee. Sheesh. Might have to invest in WalterPicks. Jeremy, you got to invest in WalterPicks, man. It's literally only $5 a month. How do I join this draft? All you need to do is go to our link tree and click on the Draft with Sam button. Or come to the YouTube stream. I'll send the link in the chat in the YouTube stream. We need 10 more people to join. Just 10 more people. Only 10 more people. We have a little over 100 people tuned in across TikTok and YouTube. Has someone ever approached to buy the algorithm? No, not yet. We talked to a lot of different people. Nobody's ever approached to buy the algorithm, but we are continuing to improve it. And honestly, I'm not sure if we would ever sell it. Do you have any free leagues? Charles, we will do some free mock drafts in the future. Right now, we are doing a $5 draft on Underdog. We're waiting for 10 more spots to fill. All you need to do to join is click the link in the link tree. We got 10 more spots, and the draft will start immediately after we have filled it. And this is just a draft. We literally don't do anything other than the draft because it's a best ball league. Our best lineups automatically submitted for us at the end of each week. There's no in-season management. Someone asked, what do you think about, what is the time frame on the Android app? Techmaster Jr., my goal, and we got another person in the draft. Let's go. We only got 9 spots left, guys. They're filling up fast. If you want to join, if you want a chance to draft against me live right now on this stream, just go to the link in our link tree or click this link if you're in the YouTube chat. Do use code Walter if you're signing up for the first time. You'll get a $25 deposit match. So you can literally, this is a $5 league. This is a $5 league. But if you go to this Underdog site for the first time and you use the code Walter, WALTER, when you first sign up, and then you deposit $25, they'll actually give you a free $25. And the draft's only $5. So you're basically getting a free $20, and you are getting to draft live on this live stream. And I'm going to talk through draft strategy and how to approach best ball leagues. You're going to learn how to dominate on this website, Underdog, while doing this draft. It's just like a win-win all around. But I don't know if I fully answered the Android question. The goal for me is to get this out before the NFL season. Before the NFL season kicks off, which is September 7th. That is my personal goal. I think that it might end up being a little later than that. It could end up being a little later than that. I don't want to be overly optimistic and let you down. But it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. The question is when, not if. Who do you think I should be looking for at pick 9 in a 10-person half PPR league? Yeah, pick 9 is an interesting one. Pick 9 can be different in every single draft. I think that the first picks are pretty obvious to me. Christian McCaffrey, obviously first overall. There's no discussion there. Dalvin Cook is second. Derrick Henry or Alvin Kamara should be third or fourth. I think Ezekiel Elliott at this point should be 5. Saquon should be 6. And then at 7, it gets interesting. You're thinking about Travis Kelce at 7. You're thinking about Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor at 7. And if any of those guys that I mentioned before, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, or Saquon Barkley are available at 9, you should do that. Is this your app? My app is called WalterPicks. Can you please post a full draft overview? Just want an idea on where players are going. Thanks, man. I think this would be a great in-depth YouTube video. Yeah, I think Holden, that's a great idea. I do think that no link on TikTok. Really, the link tree on TikTok. Well, if you come to the YouTube live stream, I can send the link there. I can also tweet it out. Let me see if I'm able to tweet this out. Thoughts on Amari Cooper? Yeah, Jagger Mo. There is a link. Yeah, in the link tree on TikTok. I'll tweet it out as well. If you come to Twitter at Samuel Factor, I'm also going to tweet this link out. We only need 9 more people to join. It's filling up fast, guys. If you want to draft against me live right now, are we Android ready yet? We're close. Sorry, I didn't answer the Amari Cooper question. I like Amari Cooper a ton. I love CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is likely going to be this year's Calvin Ridley. And the only concern for me is there's already injury reports about Amari Cooper. And I really hate drafting players that are already injured. I usually just ignore injury risk, but when players are already injured, that's a pretty scary sign for me. Especially a guy like Amari Cooper who's dealt with injuries a lot in his past. So I hope that he is not injured come training camp. And if he isn't, I'm going to love Amari Cooper. I think he is going to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. He was very consistent last year, even without Dak. Why does mine say waiting for 11 people? I don't know. That's very strange. Schlick. Mine says waiting for 9 people. If you're watching live on YouTube, what's your first 3 picks draft strategy? 3 running backs and a top tight end. Yeah, I don't hate that. It all depends on who is going to fall in the first 3 rounds. I think that I'm happy to take Travis Kelce though in the first round. I'm also happy to take Darren Waller in the second round. Really, regardless of how I start the draft. But I usually like to take at least 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. Because after DeAndre Swift in the 3rd round, I think there's so much risk in every single running back after that like I might as well just wait for Damian Harris in the 8th round. Like, is there that big of a difference? Is there that big of a difference between Damian Harris and Mike Davis? I don't think there's that big of a difference. Obviously, Mike Davis is a little bit better of a receiver. But Damian Harris is going like 6 or 7 rounds, like he's going like 5 rounds after Mike Davis. So I don't think the cost is really there. Like he is the site safe? Yeah, it's extremely safe. Underdog Fantasy, extremely safe website. Let me see if I can actually chat it in. I'm not sure if that's doable. Let's see here. Maybe I can. No, I definitely can't. But the link is in the link tree. I did confirm. And we are going to stop. Nick, he's not going to answer if you keep spamming. What do you think about Saquon Barkley? Yeah, James, we don't like spam. We do not like the spam. I'm not paying $5 for this. That's fine. You don't have to pay. Is this draft still best ball? Yes, it is. It is best ball. We only have 8 spots left. So we got 4 people in. We only have 8 spots left if you want to draft now. You obviously do not need to join. It's a $5 league. I understand not everyone's trying to drop $5 in a league. But if you are depositing for the first time on Underdog and you use the code Walter, you will get a free $25 for the site. So you'll deposit $25. You'll get $50. And then you'll get to, that's basically 10 drafts on the site. Best ball drafts. I'm going to talk through everything best ball strategy on this live stream once this draft starts. We only got 8 spots left. Go to the link tree in the TikTok bio, or if you're on YouTube, I just sent the link in the chat to join the draft. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then once this draft fills, I'm going to be talking through draft strategy the entire draft. But back to, holy moly, we need a mod in here. Yeah, I definitely agree. We gotta chill with the spam. I'm gonna put you in timeout, Nick. I don't like doing it, but I'm gonna put you in a small timeout, Nick. My thoughts on Saquon Barkley. I was confidently drafting Saquon Barkley with the 2nd overall pick, like a month ago, and then these reports came out. That he was not potentially going to be ready to play week 1, or that they're going to take him along slowly in week 1. And this is really concerning, guys. Like, you don't want your first round pick to not be playing a lot in the first few weeks of the season. But that being said, we got 5 people in the draft now, guys. There's only 7 spots left. Time's running out. If you want to draft live with us on this live stream, go to the link tree in the TikTok. Go to the link I just sent in the comments on YouTube. And if you deposit your first $25 on this website, Underdog, which is the #1 place to do best ball drafts, and you use the code Walter, you will get a free $25. And then you'll have $50 on the platform. And we're going to do a draft together right now where I'm going to talk through draft strategy and how I approach these drafts. So you'll be well prepared to absolutely dominate with that $50 on the platform. And you're actually probably going to get a positive ROI on the $50. How to use the code on app, I can't figure it out. I think when you first sign up, I think there's just a place to put in a referral code. But I'm not 100% sure. Just join, looking forward to it. Let's go, Issa. That's what I'm talking about. We only got 7 spots left. I put $10 in an Underdog with the Walter code and got $25 free. That is what I'm talking about, dude. You don't even need to put in $25 apparently. You can literally just go in and put $10 and they'll still give you the $25 free with the code Walter. James, that's fire, man. That's awesome. I get to choose what pick I get. What pick should I get in the draft? Dan Watson. I love when leagues do this. This is a fun thing to do. Do some competition or something that allows people to actually pick their draft pick, because it's like added strategy. And James, I think I've said this for 3 consecutive seasons, and you got to be careful with me here, because for the last 2 seasons, this has not worked out at all. But I'm going back to the well this year, and I think the first overall pick is the best pick in fantasy football. I think it's the best pick in fantasy football. I think Christian McCaffrey is still the single biggest advantage in fantasy football, and so I'm taking the first overall pick. And I also like, in 10 and 12-man leagues, the guys that are left in the second and third round when you're drafting early in the first round. If you don't go with the first pick, I would go with the 4th pick, because to me, there's like a clear top 4 guys. It's Christian McCaffrey, obviously, and then it is Dalvin Cook, number 2. But then Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara, to me, are in like the same tier as Dalvin Cook. Alvin Kamara or Derrick Henry, you're going to get at 4th overall, and that's going to be fantastic. Just click the link, and it asks, how do you hear about Underdog? And it automatically puts WalterPicks in if you click that link that I'm sending in YouTube. Holden, thanks, man. Yeah, this is a good idea for a YouTube video. I appreciate it. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, and you haven't hit that like button yet, definitely hit that like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, we're about to start a live draft with all of you, the people that are tuned in to this live stream. We're already halfway filled, so we're running out of spots. And all you need to do to sign up is go to the link tree on the TikTok bio, click the link at the top, and follow that link through. Use code Walter when you sign up, and then if you just deposit $10 into the platform, this is a $5 draft. It does cost money. Let me be very transparent here. It costs $5 to join, but when you sign up for the first time, you get a free $25. So it really doesn't cost that much. What's draft name? What's the code? The code is Walter. The code is Walter, Walter. But if you just click the link above in the YouTube chat, it should just automatically input that code for you. When is it going to get started? Ashley Ann, welcome. It is going to get started once we have 6 more people in the draft. It will start immediately. And it's just a draft. This is best ball. So our best lineups are automatically submitted for us at the end of each week. There's actually no adding, dropping, or trading players. So all we do is the draft. It's just the fun part of fantasy football. There's no in-season management, which is the other nice part. It's not a very big time commitment. The draft will take like 40 minutes probably, and then it will be done, and we'll never need to manage the team again. We'll just see who wins at the end of the season. Yarjma, how is it going? How is it going, Yarjma? We're doing a live draft right now on YouTube, on TikTok. We got 6 more people that we need to join. 5 more people that we need to join. Another person just joined. Let's go. Once we get 5 more people in, the draft will start. I will absolutely dominate you and all of you in this league. No, probably, actually, last time we did this, which was a few weeks ago, I got absolutely destroyed in the draft. I feel like the WalterPicks fan base is just like more intelligent than the average fantasy fan, and it was probably the most difficult draft I've done. So I think it'll be a pretty competitive draft. But I will talk through best ball strategy. There's only 4 spots left, guys. There's only 4 spots left if you want to join. There's only 4 spots left. I also tweeted the link out. Sam about to get ran by fans in the draft. Yes, that's literally what happened last time. Did my first mock draft today since last year. Yarshman, that's what I'm talking about. It is almost fantasy football time. Bray, I'm doing well, man. Thanks for asking. I'm in, Squint23. Blake, we'll be able to see the usernames, I think, once all the next 4 people join. There's only 4 spots left. So if you want to join, go to the link tree in our TikTok account, or just click this link that I'm sending in the YouTube chat. That should take you right there. Won't people take your guys? Yeah. Yes, this is exactly what happened last time. But it's still fun. It's fun, really. It really is fun drafting with all of you. And I like talking through the strategy and some of the different teams I'm seeing. So it's okay. It's $5 is not too much to me, so I'm okay with it. But I do think that it's really fun to draft against the people that are in the live stream. It's been a lot of fun in the past. But yeah, I usually get absolutely smoked in these drafts. People are really good in these drafts because the average WalterPicks fan is just an above average, more intelligent fantasy football person. We only have 3 spots left, guys. We're 9 out of 12 filled. We're almost there. I do think who's gonna be a beast. I'm not leaving a draft without Robert Woods. Yeah, I got Robert Woods in the last draft I did. If you're watching live on TikTok, by the way, we're about to do a live draft on YouTube with all of you, the viewers. But there's only 3 spots left. The link is in the link tree. The link is also, I'm sending it in the YouTube chat. But I want to show you this draft that I just did. And this honestly might have been my favorite team that I drafted. This might be the most favorite team I've drafted like recently. And I started with 3 straight running backs. I went Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, then DeAndre Swift. We only have 2 spots left, guys, in this league. Let's go. Just 2 spots left, and then we're going to start drafting immediately. It's going to be a 40-minute draft, best ball league, so there's no in-season management. All you got to do is the draft. We're going to be talking through. Rob, that's okay. Yeah, I know that there's been some like slowness / depending on where you live, it can take a long time to get verified. Rob, I appreciate you trying to join though, and hopefully you still stick around and watch the draft and hear some of the strategy as we talk through it. And hopefully, Rob, you do get verified eventually. They got to be really careful, I think, in terms of like making sure you are 18 years or older, whatever the age limit is for a site like this. But oh my goodness, yeah, I do think that injuries do. I'm in the draft. Let's go. We only have 2 spots left. So the draft's about to start. The draft is about to start. It's a $5 draft. It costs $5 to enter, but when you use the code Walter, which will automatically be inputted for you, when you click the link in the link tree on our TikTok bio, or when you click the link I'm sending in the YouTube chat, then you'll get a free $25 just for depositing $10. And so it's really not like a $5 draft. You're really actually like getting a free $20, and you're going to get to do the draft that's in this live stream right now. And we're broadcasting it live on YouTube. And I'm going to talk through it live on YouTube and live on TikTok. And there's only 1 spot left. So the second you join, whoever's the last person to join, the second you join, the draft is going to begin. So you are the person that will begin the draft. I just sent the link again in the YouTube chat. Guys, I made money from joining the draft because of the sign-up bonus. I withdrew right away. There you go. Literally. Oh my God. Someone just said, I made money from joining the draft. He just joined the draft. He deposited $10, and then he was like, "Yeah, I actually don't want to draft now." You still get the free $25. That's insane. This is the partnership that we have made with Underdog. When you sign up with the code Walter, and you literally only have to deposit, I think, $10, maybe $5. I thought it was $25, but someone told me just now that they deposited just $10, and then they'll give you a free $25. Calvin Ridley or Hopkins? I think Calvin Ridley probably has a higher ceiling, Dan, but Hopkins is the safest wide receiver in all of fantasy. He's literally the safest wide receiver in all of fantasy football. He's had 160 plus targets in like 3 straight seasons. And that just doesn't happen in the NFL. Top 5 picks in fantasy this year. The top 4, I'm in the draft, but I withdrew the extra 30. Yeah, that's amazing. So you deposited $10, and then you joined the draft, and you got a free $25, then you withdrew the $30. If you actually can do that, I'm not sure if that's actually a thing you can do, but that would be pretty insane. There's only 1 spot left in the draft, guys. We're about to do a live draft with you, the viewers, and all you need to do to join, it's a $5 league, a $5 best ball league. We're broadcasting it live on YouTube. We're going to talk through strategy live on YouTube and live on TikTok, and all you need to do to join is click the link I'm sending in YouTube, or go to the link tree in TikTok and click that top link, and it will bring you right there. Top 5 picks in fantasy, Luke. So far, in the drafts I've done, the top 4 picks are very consistently the same top 4. In different orders, Christian McCaffrey is almost always first. Dalvin Cook is usually second. Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara are almost always third and fourth. Fifth, though, is where things really start to change a little bit. Sometimes it's Saquon Barkley. Sometimes it's Travis Kelce. Sometimes it's Ezekiel Elliott. But after those 3 guys are picked, that's when, honestly, the draft starts for me. That's when the draft gets very interesting. And I think you can start thinking about Austin Eckler literally as soon as the 8th overall pick. And we got 12 people in the draft. Let's go. I'm pumped. We are about to start a live draft on YouTube. And I'm going to be broadcasting it live on YouTube. You can follow along. Let's see what pick everyone got. Oh, man. What pick did I get? I got the 11th overall pick. I don't hate it. So you'll be able to watch actually the draft board as we're doing a live draft with WalterPicks viewers that are in this live stream right now. You're going to get to watch this live draft. By the way, guys, if you are someone that's just starting out best ball for the first time, we actually have several best ball tools in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store. If you haven't checked out the app yet, I've spent thousands of hours of my life building this app. We have a best ball favorites tool, which is going to explain why some players are just very obvious values over others in this format. It's going to also walk you through the optimal roster construction strategy, which I'll also talk through for free just on this live stream as we go through this draft in a best ball league. It will also just help you navigate rankings, and it actually gives you a free link to our rankings for best ball specifically in the WalterPicks app. Those are the rankings I use when I draft. I personally update those rankings every single day. I'm 12th, don't snipe me. Oh, you better bet I'm going to absolutely snipe you. And I fully expect you to definitely be sniping all of my picks as well. I tried to join, but I couldn't verify my account. RIP. It's okay. Got the 5th pick. Nice job, Issa. Will be interesting to see how this draft goes. We got CSC Schwabi on the clock first overall. Looks like he's going to auto pick Christian McCaffrey. And now we're at the second overall pick. Guys, Christian McCaffrey should be the first overall pick in literally every single draft. I got Henry, Hopkins, Josh Allen, Waller, Galladay for my first mock. Yarzma. Is that a 10-person league or a 12-person league? In a 12-person league, that is absolute fire. In a 10-person league, I think that's just good. That's how I would say. How high are you on Eckler this year? Seeing tons of hype, which makes sense. Yeah, chill out 770. Yeah, I wouldn't tell people to chill out on Austin Eckler because Austin Eckler is a guy that literally has Alvin Kamara level upside, and I do believe he should be a first-round pick. All right, guys, this is getting interesting. If you come to the live draft we're displaying on YouTube right now, you can literally watch the draft board. I'm drafting with a bunch of people who are tuned into this live stream. This is a draft with me and some WalterPicks viewers and fans. And the draft started a little bit differently than most of the drafts. And these drafts are very sharp, guys. With the WalterPicks fans are the above average intelligent fantasy football fans. And last time I did a draft with all of you, it was probably the most difficult draft I've been a part of this offseason. And I've done about 130 of them. And I'm literally not just saying that. Christian McCaffrey just went first overall. We had Dalvin Cook go second. Derrick Henry went third. Ezekiel Elliott went fourth, which is interesting. I would probably draft Alvin Kamara over Ezekiel Elliott, but that could easily end up being wrong. Travis Kelce went sixth overall. I agree with that pick. Saquon Barkley went seventh. And then Austin Eckler goes eighth overall. Honestly, this is a sharp draft. This has been a very sharp draft so far. So far, we've only seen running backs and Travis Kelce be taken. And this is pretty classic in a best ball league that I've done so far. Nick Chubb went ninth overall. I don't feel like I can talk myself into Nick Chubb that early. But when you see all these running backs flying off the board, it's hard not to draft running backs. It's really hard not to draft running backs. I'm about to be on the clock, and we haven't seen a wide receiver being taken yet. And it's about to be we're at the 10th pick right now. And Tyreek Hill, in most of the drafts I've done, Clyde goes 10th overall. Oh my God, Big Show 40. What do you know that we do not know? And I feel like part of me wants to draft Jonathan Taylor because Jonathan Taylor usually is picked by now, but also I don't like Jonathan Taylor that much in the first round. I feel like he's pretty risky. So I'm not just going to be an average draft position. I'm not going to be cuffed to average draft position. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. Screw it. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. I'm going to be totally screwed at running back. These drafts are absolutely brutal with you guys. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, though, because usually he's picked by pick 11. Jonathan Taylor, he's too risky for the first round. Go tight end. Tight end was already picked. Tight end was already picked in this draft. You can actually look at the draft board live on YouTube. Jonathan Taylor ends up going 12th, which isn't that surprising. How much does first get? First place in this league that I'm drafting right now with all of you. This is a real league, guys. This is not a mock draft. This is a real league. We all put $5 on the line, and first place, I believe, gets $37. And I'm obviously going for first place because why else would you be playing fantasy other than for first place? I'm going to take Cam Akers here. I was honestly considering him before, but I had a feeling he might still be there with my next pick, and I didn't think Tyreek Hill would be. So I'm pretty okay with the start so far for me, but I'm going to need another running back. 2 more running backs at least. So back to best ball strategy. For everyone drafting, this is obviously a friendly draft with all of you. And most of the drafts I'm doing are $25 best ball drafts in the Best Ball Mania 2 contest, which is a tournament. In tournaments, you got to take a little bit more risk than what we're doing here, which is just us competing against the other 11 people in the league. But generally speaking, because it's a best ball format and your best lineup's automatically submitted for you each week, and there's no roster construction throughout the season, there's no adding, dropping, or trading, you need to have good roster construction, or it doesn't even matter who you draft. Like, if you have suboptimal roster construction, you're going to get destroyed in these leagues. And optimal roster construction, generally speaking, is between 3 and 6 running backs. In a tournament, I would probably only draft 3 to 5 running backs, and you saw in the last draft I did, I literally only drafted 3, my first 3 picks. So if you draft like 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds, then it's okay to only draft 3. But if you are not going to draft 3 running backs really early, you should draft 4 or 5. And then at the tight end position and the quarterback position, it depends how early of draft capital you're spending there. If you're getting a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, or even Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert, or maybe even Jalen Hurts, you should only be drafting 2 quarterbacks. Like, you've already spent a lot of draft capital on them, and that added incentive of doing that in this format is then you only need to draft 2 QBs. In the tight end position, same thing goes. If you get Travis Kelce, you get Darren Waller, you get TJ Hawkinson, you get George Kittle, you get Kyle Pitts, then you should probably only be drafting 2 tight ends. We see DeAndre Swift, by the way, go in the second round here. Iosa. I love seeing DeAndre Swift drafted in the second round because I've been consistently drafting. That is a really good start, Cigar City Cards. Eckler and Mixon is a very, very strong start. I wasn't going to take Mixon over Cam Akers, but yeah, it's a pretty strong start, I'm not going to lie. I like the Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift start too. And like this is, if you're watching this draft live right now on YouTube, guys, and if you are watching live on YouTube, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It takes you 2 seconds. I really do appreciate it. I have a lot of fun on these drafts regardless. But this is why I love the early first round picks, because look at what's happening in this draft, right? I think every team so far is pretty good. But if you look at what's going to happen with these guys that had the first 4 picks, the people that had the first 4 picks, not only are they getting a top 4 player, that projected top 4 player in fantasy, but look at the receivers they're getting. Calvin Ridley stacked with Zeke, DeAndre Hopkins stacked with Derrick Henry, DK Metcalf and Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson and McCaffrey, Michael Thomas in the 3rd round. This is what you're getting with the first 4 picks. Like, are going to get a chance at Michael Thomas in the 3rd round. Absolutely insane. What is the YouTube? All you got to do is look up WalterPicks on YouTube. It's also in our link tree, in our TikTok bio. But if you just look up WalterPicks, and we see George Kittle and Darren Waller go as well. I think that this, like the person here that had the 3rd pick, Schlick28, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Darren Waller. Literally all 3 of those guys could finish at number 1 in their position. Darren Waller probably won't beat out Travis Kelce, but Darren Waller, there was only 2 tight ends last season. Only 2 tight ends last season that had at least 5 targets in every single game except for 1. Travis Kelce and Darren Waller. End of list. Darren Waller also added 0 competition this offseason. They actually lost Nelson Aguilar and replaced him with John Brown. If anything, Darren Waller is going to do better this year than he did last year. So I like Darren Waller. Honestly, I think I like him more than George Kittle. And don't get me wrong here, George Kittle to me is obviously a better tight end for the NFL than Darren Waller. But in fantasy, I'm pretty worried, honestly, about George Kittle and what his role would look like once Trey Lance wins the starting job. And he's going to win the starting job. I honestly think that he could win it week 1, but he also could win it week 12. Like, there's a pretty wide range of outcomes for when Trey Lance actually starts in the NFL. But if he does start early in the season, it's not going to be good news for any of their pass catchers. It's going to be good news for their running backs. It's going to be bad news for their receivers because they're going to be a super run-heavy team. Stan, thoughts on Kamara and Ridley for Hill and Eckler? I feel like I already answered that one. Almost definitely I did. Straight from the TOK. Do I keep Lockett or Thielen? I would probably keep I'd probably keep Lockett, and this might be Christian. This might be just my bias from doing too many best ball drafts, but I think I prefer Lockett over Thielen because I like Russell Wilson so much more than Kirk Cousins. And I feel like that's really what it comes down to for me. I'm about to be back on the clock here. I started this draft with Cam Akers and Tyreek Hill. I really need another running back, but as you all know, I don't like any of these running backs very much. I think I could talk myself into. We'll see what pick is about to be made. I'm not gonna give away my pick before it happens. Lock it because Thielen's sharing the ball with JJ. Yeah, that's true. Terry McLaurin's back on the. It gets picked right before me. I'm strongly considering Chris Carson with this pick. I'm going to take him. I can't say that and then not take him. I usually, I don't feel that great about Chris Carson, but I also do think he has really, not that much competition. And with me drafting Tyreek Hill in the first round, I'm going to need 3 or 4 running backs. And you really want workhorse running backs because we're not going to draft that many of them with the roster construction I was explaining. And so you want consistent, high-volume running backs. Julio Jones goes with the last pick of the 3rd round. I'm going to be back on the clock in a second. Miles Sanders is still available, but I probably will pass on Miles Sanders. And Allen Robinson gets snagged. I was honestly hoping for Allen Robinson. I think I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts, though. Instead of Miles Sanders, which is probably a bad call, but I will now only have to draft 2 tight ends. I like Kyle Pitts in the 4th round. Guys, Kyle Pitts is basically... I have been drafting Kyle Pitts in the 4th round pretty consistently. I asked earlier for Akers, not Eckler. Oh, my bad. I do think Eckler and Akers are neck and neck in our rankings. I actually believe Eckler's 1 spot ahead of Akers currently in our rankings, so I guess it's a little better. But they're basically right next to each other. What app are you drafting on? This is called Underdog. Underdog Fantasy. There's an app. There's a website. If you sign up with the code Walter, 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 when you first sign up, then whatever you deposit, $5, $10, $25, they will give you a free $25 when you first deposit. A free $25. So if you want to try it out, you can definitely try it out, and you'll get some free chances to see what the format is like. Justin Jefferson top 5 this year? Probably not. Probably not top 5. And honestly, it's sad for me because I absolutely loved Justin Jefferson last season. I was really high on him going into the season. I absolutely love LSU wide receivers, period. I didn't think he was going to end up being the best rookie literally of all time, which is what he did in his rookie season on a run-first team, which is absolutely insane. You got to put some respect on Justin Jefferson's name. But he's going in the second round next to DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley and Michael Thomas. And I just haven't been able to draft him that much with him getting drafted around those guys, which is sad for me. Because I want to be rooting for Justin Jefferson while he balls out this season. And I still will be able to, because I'll still be playing him on DraftKings and FanDuel and in player props. But I feel like I'm not going to have him that much in fantasy. Because, it's just hard with the guys he's going around. And I also feel like I've been drafting Darren Waller pretty consistently, actually, over Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson goes in the 4th round. And, look at the tight ends here. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, we're actually showing this draft live on YouTube as well. We're showing this draft live on YouTube. And there is been 5 tight ends taken so far in the first 4 rounds. Travis Kelce went 6th overall. Darren Waller and George Kittle went the 2nd and 3rd picks, respectively, in the 3rd round. I like Darren Waller more than George Kittle, honestly, by a decent amount. TJ Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts. I took Kyle Pitts in the 4th round. TJ Hawkinson probably going to be very comparable to Kyle Pitts. TJ Hawkinson's the odds-odd favorite to lead the Lions in targets this season. I'm glad I watch your vids and know who to take right before you. Yeah, that's absolutely brutal. How are you handling the Packers if you're drafting today? This is a good one. Honestly, I've gone back and forth on this. And because I'm drafting in best ball leagues and I'm kind of incentivized to take risks, it's not just a best ball league. I'm drafting in a tournament against thousands, hundreds of thousands of other people competing for $1 million prize. I've actually talked myself into a few drafts where I'm just I'm just going to pretend Aaron Rodgers is playing in this draft, and I'm going to draft all the Packers players, because if he does come out and say he is playing, they're all going to rise up draft boards immediately. But I'm not so sure that he's going to play. I go back and forth on this a lot, and I think right now I'd say I'm 51% confident that he is going to play. Because I can't imagine a world where he wins the MVP. He wins the MVP, literally the most valuable football player in the world, and then he does not play the next season. That would be really, really insane to me. But I also think there's a pretty good chance he doesn't play. So I'm currently of the mindset that I think he's going to play. Winston is a sleeper for me. Yeah, Dayton. Winston is the perfect guy for a tournament too, because if he does win the starting role, he's going to put up fantasy points. He's going to put up fantasy points. The way that he plays is perfect for fantasy, especially in formats that don't penalize interceptions that much. We're about to be back on the clock, and Josh Allen gets snagged 1 pick before me. I absolutely love all the quarterbacks that were taken in this round. Look at the 5th round. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, whoever just got Josh Allen, it's an absolute steal. Whoever gets the last of these 4 quarterbacks that have been taken so far, I think is one of the best quarterback values in the draft. I'm about to be back on the clock. Let's take a look who's available here. Thoughts on DeAndre Swift? I'm really talking myself into DeAndre Swift. And by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube, these are the rankings you will get for free. If you subscribe to the WalterPicks app, it'll be part of the Best Ball Favorites tool. And so I will defer to these rankings a decent amount, especially as I'm running this live stream. I'm going to draft Travis Etienne, which I don't feel great about. I'm not that confident about Travis Etienne, but they did spend 1st-round draft capital up on for him. They actually traded up for him. And we know he's a very good receiver. There's a range of outcome where he does see 80 targets. And if he sees 80 targets, I think this will work out for me. And I already kind of waited on running back because I drafted Tyreek Hill in the first round. And I think I'm going to go with T. Higgins here with my next pick. I'm interested in Dak, but I don't love drafting a quarterback early unless it's one of those 4 guys that already went. And honestly, I don't hate how my team's coming together. I don't think I have the best team so far. If I look through some of the teams that have drafted, we're doing a live draft on YouTube right now, guys, if you're watching live on TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube and you haven't hit that like button yet, and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I would really appreciate that. It takes you 2 seconds. Helps me out a ton. I'll scroll down a little here so you can see this draft board. But I want to see, in the first 5 rounds, let's see which team I think is the best. Honestly, it might be the person who had the first overall pick with McCaffrey, but I don't love Josh Jacobs. I mean, yeah, he's probably going to get 15 to 20 carries a game, but there's also this risk that Josh Jacobs gets like less than 20 catches this season with Kenyon Drake there. And I also think the offensive line could be a really, really big issue for the Raiders this season. I don't love the second team because I don't love George Kittle. The rest of the team, though, I don't hate. Mike Davis is a guy that I started to like a lot, like when I first started drafting. There's an obvious case for Mike Davis in the 5th round, right? He has zero competition. The backup running back for the Falcons, like maybe it's Cordero Patterson, maybe it's some guys that like honestly the other backups like might not make other NFL teams rosters, period. That's how little competition Mike Davis has at the running back position. But also, like look who Mike Davis is getting drafted around. Tyler Lockett, Kyler Murray, Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, Lamar Jackson, Adam Thielen, like all those other guys to me are way safer picks. This is why I like drafting running backs early. I'll say the same thing about my team when I get there. I liked the third team the best, I think, through the first 3 rounds. I don't love the David Montgomery pick. David Montgomery in the 4th round, like he's going to, like, I actually think David Montgomery is underrated in terms of, like, the perception of David Montgomery from the public view. But for fantasy football, Tariq Cohen is back. Damian Williams is back. He's not going to be involved as a receiver. And if Justin Fields gets the starting quarterback job, he also could lose touchdowns in the red zone. So I'm not a huge fan of David Montgomery. I do think that he'll be a consistent rusher. Like, to me, him and Josh Jacobs aren't that different. They're actually really similar. And I think they're giving you a good rushing floor, like a pretty safe rushing floor, which is not terrible. But they both have very limited receiving upside, and their offensive lines and just offenses in general concern me in the touchdown column. I do really like this 4th team. Ezekiel Elliott, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Lamar Jackson. I don't think they just drafted Chase Edmonds too. Interesting. I think, again, this team, the biggest weakness of this team is running backs, so they're probably going to need to draft more running backs, but pretty strong start at the most important position, wide receiver, and I like the Lamar Jackson pick as well. Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawkinson, Adam Thielen, Justin Herbert. I like that team a lot as well. I think that's setting you up really strong at the running back position. I think you're like way better set up at running back than the person right before you who had to wait for Chase Edmonds later in the draft. Like DeAndre Swift, guys, he could get 100 targets. He literally could get 100 targets. And if he does, honestly, Ayosa, you're probably going to win this league. You also ended up getting Alvin Kamara 5th overall, which I think is kind of a snag. Travis Kelce, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Brown, Gaskin, Hunt, and Sutton. I like this team a lot as well. I think that this team's really going to come down to Myles Gaskin and Kareem Hunt performing for you. The next team, Saquon Barkley and Stephon Diggs. Saquon Barkley at 7th overall. Guys, Saquon Barkley, your team 4, that's what I'm talking about, Slash. Saquon Barkley at 7th overall. I feel like Saquon Barkley is going to decide fantasy leagues this year for people. Like, is Saquon Barkley going to win or lose fantasy leagues? I feel like it's not going to be anywhere in between. Like, it's so hard to know right now with the reports that we're seeing, but he's probably going to end up being a value, getting him at 7th overall. Stephon Diggs, that late also was a very, very strong pick. Stephon Diggs led the league in receiving last year. J.K. Dobbins is a guy that is very similar to me to David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs. Like, I don't see a huge difference there. The big difference is the offense is better. The rushing offense is better. But J.K. Dobbins is, like, again, a guy that's not going to get any catches because Lamar Jackson does not throw to running backs. And doesn't have that high of touchdown upside because Gus Edwards will be involved. And Lamar Jackson, obviously, arguably already the best rushing quarterback ever. So, like, there's limited touchdown upside there for J.K. Dobbins as well. The third team here, the strong start with Austin Eckler. Sorry, not the third team. This is the 8th pick. Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Godwin, Jamar Chase. I like that start a lot. Chase Claypool next. Yeah, this team, I think, honestly, might be my favorite. I don't love Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. Like, I would prefer Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen in the 5th round to Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. That's, like, my main reason for not liking Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. Like, he's still the number 1 quarterback. It's just an early pick to spend. Like, I think this team would be better if you went with CeeDee Lamb instead of Patrick Mahomes. But I still think it's a really strong team. No, someone took Damian Harris in the 7th round. I was really hoping to get Damian Harris in the 7th round, but that's okay. I'm about to be back on the clock. And I so far have taken Tyreek Hill, Cam Akers, Chris Carson, Kyle Pitts, Travis Etienne, and T. Higgins. Somehow I have 2 rookies on this team in the first 6 rounds. That's probably not a good thing. Tyler Higbee and Dallas Goedert get picked. I'm glad I already have Kyle Pitts. How do we get that free money from Underdog? I just signed up. Maddie Drip, you got to put in the code Walter. I think when you sign up, maybe it's when you deposit, but at some point there's a place to put in a referral code. Just put in the code Walter, WALTER, and you'll get a free $25. All right, I'm back on the clock here. Raheem Mostert's still there. Let's take a look. I think I'm going to go with Gallup. And I think I need to make a note here to move James Robinson down this rankings list a little. So far, if we take a look quickly at the draft board, I'm about to be back on the clock in a second again. I went with Michael Gallup. Michael Carter gets picked. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert, and it's going to be the last running back I draft. I'm going to draft 4 here. And I think I'm assuming Trey Sermon was already picked. Yeah, Trey Sermon got picked. And to me, there's a chance that Raheem Mostert, pretty easily outproduces Trey Sermon. I think there's a chance Trey Sermon pretty easily outproduces him as well. But the difference is, look where Trey Sermon's getting picked, and look where Raheem Mostert's getting picked. Trey Sermon was picked a full round ago, and I'm getting Raheem Mostert a full round later. So I like the value there, just off that alone. Look where Trey Sermon's picked. If I can get Raheem Mostert a full round later, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And now I'm done drafting running backs. Who's the better value at their ADP, Sutton or Judy? This is a really good question. Take a look at where they're drafted in this draft. By the way, guys, this has been a very strong start to the draft. I'm very impressed with the picks that I'm seeing, and I feel like this honestly has been a very competitive draft so far. We're about halfway through. This is an 18-round draft, but remember, all we're doing is the draft, guys. Every pick matters a lot because this is it. This is the whole league. There's no adding and dropping players throughout the season. There's no trading. Your best lineup's going to be submitted for you each week. So as you're drafting, think about how is this player going to play into this roster throughout the season, assuming full health. But obviously, you're going to get some injuries, right? So you got to prepare for that a little bit as well. But think about, does this player have an actual chance to crack my starting lineup at some point, in their best weeks? That's kind of how I think about it as I draft. And that kind of skews you towards the higher upside guys, like Brandon Cooks, who was a fantastic 8th-round pick. And honestly, might be a better pick than Michael Gallup. Brandon Cooks, even though Deshaun Watson's probably not going to play this season, he's the clear deep threat number 1 wide receiver, with very, very little competition. There's no more Will Fuller. Brandon Cooks might be the single best valued wide receiver in all of best ball right now. Thoughts on Akers versus Mixon and Gibson? Yeah, I would rank them in that order, Akers, Mixon, then Gibson. I think that Akers has Todd Gurley level upside, which is why he's ranked first. I think Joe Mixon, with all the reports we've seen from Joe Mixon so far, Joe Mixon is supposedly going to be on the field every single snap except for 2 drives. That was literally the latest report I read this morning about Joe Mixon. And if that happens, he's going to be a top 10 running back in fantasy football. The big question for Joe Mixon, there's 2 big questions for him every season, and this has gone poorly for him every season. It's injuries, which, again, I usually take the approach of I'm just completely ignoring trying to predict injuries. I wasted my 6th-round pick with a Dak auto pick. Yeah, I don't think that's a huge waste, but the auto picks are always brutal. But the other thing with Joe Mixon is the offensive line. The offensive line, and this is the big thing the Bengals did not address this offseason. This is why a lot of people were telling them you should draft Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase. And I do think Jamar Chase is going to ball out in the NFL as soon as year 1, and definitely long term. He was the number 1 guy in our model even before the draft. But I do also think that's the biggest concern for the entire Bengals offense and Joe Mixon is the offensive line. Cam Akers is just Joe Mixon but younger and in a better offense. Jeremy, I don't totally disagree there. What's the subscription price for your app? Trey, good question, man. So currently, for all of the fantasy tools, so for your season-long drafts and for best ball, it is $60 for the year or $5 per month if you like to think about it that way. It's $60 for the year. What you get when you sign up, you get full access to our draft tool, which will be all of our rankings for the upcoming season. Our rankings use machine learning. So we have trained our model based on the past 10 historical seasons to give us the best possible rankings in fantasy football. These have been proven out to be the best rankings in the industry for 2 consecutive seasons. So you're going to get that, but that doesn't just come with projections and rankings. You're actually going to get a ceiling and floor outcome for every single player. What is the best case scenario for this player, and what is the worst case scenario for this player? You're also going to get that for every single player. That's what the draft tool is going to give you. Not only that, But the draft tool also actually sync to your draft. This is a feature that's coming soon. Sync to your draft, and it will give you live feedback on positional value in your draft based on your specific league settings and based on the players that you have already drafted. So it knows what positions you've already allocated draft capital to, it knows which players are left, and it knows your league settings, and it then tells you the positional scarcity that's left. So it tells you which positions you should be prioritizing. This is what you get with the draft tool. But then throughout the season, you're also going to get access to the trade analyzer, the Dynasty trade analyzer, which helps you dominate trades in both season long and Dynasty. You're also going to get the start-sit tool, which gives you access to the best projections, the best weekly projections literally in the world using machine learning every single week. And those start-sit projections also come with a ceiling and a floor. A ceiling and a floor every single week. A best-case scenario and a worst-case scenario that, by the way, we did some analysis recently. 90% of outcomes were within our ceiling and floor last season. 90 percentile confidence interval is essentially what we're doing. So you're getting the best and worst case scenario for every player every week. But not only that, you're also going to get transaction advice. And if you're into these best ball drafts, you're also going to get our best ball favorites and in early access already, if you sign up now, early access to our best ball rankings, which you can upload to Underdog. You can go, you see the rankings tab on my screen here. Or maybe it's behind me. I'm back on the clock here. But that's what you're going to get. It's $60 a year for all the fantasy tools. And I'm going to take Russell Gage. He's the next best wide receiver in my rankings. And by the way, with the screen recording I'm sharing here, these are my live rankings that you can see. These are the uploaded rankings, the most up-to-date rankings. Is David Montgomery risky? Yeah, he is. I mean, like, know what you're getting with David Montgomery. You're getting a like volume-dependent rusher. He's not going to have as many catches as he had last year. The reason David Montgomery balled out last season is he was on the field for 98% of the snaps. He was literally like leading the league with McCaffrey injured. He was like leading the league in snaps. In snap rate. I'm going to take Elijah Moore. I don't know if everyone has been following along with all the Elijah Moore reports, but there has not been more positive praise for any player, I think, in the NFL so far in the last month than Elijah Moore. And I'm pretty excited about him. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL, but I feel like I'm drafting way too many rookies on this team because you don't want to be overconfident with your rookie analysis because there is extra volatility with rookies. And I feel like I'm definitely overconfident about Devonta Smith because I would be so surprised if he didn't work out. But he's also a rookie, so there's definitely a chance he doesn't. What's the promo code, man? Smizzle, how's it going, man? The promo code is Walter, WALTER, Walter. When you sign up, you'll get a free $25 when you sign up using the code Walter on Underdog. Dude, you're an absolute legend. All I did was scroll past the live on TikTok. Trey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. The last thing with the subscription. So that's access to all the fantasy tools. But there's also much more than that in the WalterPicks app. We also have a lineup optimizer for DraftKings and FanDuel that helps you absolutely dominate your DFS lineup. So if you're someone that spends consistent money on DraftKings and FanDuel, that's definitely a tool that's going to be worthwhile for you to just make sure you're making the most optimal lineups. You basically just pick the pool of players you're most interested in, hit optimize, and then our algorithm does the rest for you. And then last but not least is, not going to lie, you may as well have won me my league last year. I'm here for all of this. Andrew, let's go. That's what I'm talking about, man. Andrew, we are going back-to-back this season, man. That is the goal. One championship's not enough. The most important championship, as the great Tom Brady would say, is the next one. So we're gonna try to go back-to-back, man. I appreciate the support, though. But the last thing in the WalterPicks app, of course, at least at the moment, is player prop picks. And we had over 60% accuracy with our player props last season in the NFL. We were a little bit worse in the NBA, about 55% accuracy, ended on a really bad cold streak in the playoffs in the NBA. I feel like the player props in the NBA really started to the lines really started to be really, really, really accurate and not very exploitable at the end of the season, which makes some sense. But we still finished with over 55% accuracy on the props in the NBA season. What third to fourth round wide receiver has the highest ceiling? I'm thinking CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the actual data in front of me. I could pull it up. But CeeDee Lamb probably is on that list. Amari Cooper is probably on that list as well. A.J. Brown and honestly, it's probably Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, I think, if I remember correctly, when we ran the algorithm, I think Michael Thomas's ceiling was wide receiver 1, and like that's not that surprising. He could literally see 180 targets. So you have to pay monthly for WalterPicks. No. It's $60 a year, or I think it's $15 a month. So $60 a year comes out to $5 a month, or you can pay monthly. But I encourage you to do the annual. The annual is definitely the better value if you're going to sign up for the WalterPicks app. I do really, seriously, if you do sign up, guys, it's literally the number one way to support me is to subscribe to the WalterPicks app. There's nothing more you could possibly do to help me out than to go subscribe in the WalterPicks app. So I really do appreciate it. But the next things, if you don't have the money, that's also totally fine. I'm not expecting you to spend money that you don't want to spend. But if you don't want to subscribe to the WalterPicks app, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the next best thing you could probably do. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and definitely follow us on TikTok. WalterPicks, way better than Yahoo and others, so go use WalterPicks in the App Store. Thanks, Josh, my man. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on Cam Akers? Yeah, I like Cam Akers. I think Cam Akers has Todd Gurley level upside. I think he literally has Todd Gurley level upside. And that's like number one fantasy football running back upside. That is a lot of upside that we are talking about. Tantalizing upside for Cam Akers. I think that what we saw from him in the last 5 games of the season should not be overlooked. Partially because they also got rid of Malcolm Brown this offseason. And I know Malcolm Brown was nothing crazy, but he did play a role in the offense. And it just leaves more touchdown upside for Cam Akers, which is why I feel like Cam Akers is one of the safest running backs in fantasy. And he is worth a first round pick in fantasy football. I got him in the second round in the draft we're doing right now, which I was pumped about. I think I would prefer Cam Akers over Najee Harris, who was picked 1 pick before him in this draft. But I like Najee Harris a lot too. I think he's going to see, he could see 300 carries this season. Do you just do fantasy or gambling picks? Both. The gambling stuff, though, is all player props currently. We've been actually working behind the scenes on more than just player props, but we will not ever release anything until we actually believe it is of value to the WalterPicks subscribers. And so far, the WalterPicks player props have absolutely dominated. We've had over 55% accuracy in the NBA. We're up like, I don't know the exact units number off the top of my head, but we've also we dominated last NFL season. We were at 65% accuracy, which is astronomical in the betting world. Like anything above 54% is huge in betting. Honestly, anytime you're not losing in your betting, it's probably a good thing. But my number one piece of betting advice is to never bet more than you can afford to lose. That is the number one rule of betting. And if you do that, then you can have a lot of fun doing it. Gabriel Davis is a guy that, like, if Cole Beasley doesn't play, I feel like there's some ceiling with Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis, guys, was number 2. How do I join the WalterPicks team? Trey, we actually just finished hiring 32 people. We are bringing on 32 people to the WalterPicks team. Our current team is 4 people. And we are actually about to add 32 people to the team, all of which are going to be TikTok creators. We're going to have one TikTok account for every single NFL team, and there's going to be one TikTok creator running each NFL team. I can't wait for the team to get started. It's an absolutely fire team. We ended up interviewing almost 200 people. We had a little over 2,500 people apply. And they are all going, Yarshman, they do each get a jersey as well. They're getting some other welcome care package as well. But no, I'm super excited for them all to join the squad. And I think that together we are going to build the number one fantasy brand that is out there. That is overall the mission. What about Gabriel Davis? Thank you, Mojo. Thank you for keeping me on track. I get very sidetracked sometimes in these live streams. But the Gabriel Davis thing, Gabriel Davis was number 2 in touchdowns on the Bills last season. He was number 2 in the team as a rookie, and I think that's actually a very good signal for Gabriel Davis being really good in the NFL. And I think that the Cole Beasley thing, where Cole Beasley literally might retire, he just got picked in this draft. He probably isn't going to retire because Cole Beasley's still a good receiver in the NFL, and he should continue getting those paychecks. But I do think that Gabriel Davis, even with Cole Beasley, even with Emmanuel Sanders signing, I do think that, Dom, if you tag me in it, I'll do my best to rate it. I don't love rating teams, but if you tag me in the post, I'll do my best to rate it. The thing with Gabriel Davis is he's tethered to Josh Allen, and they lost John Brown. They added Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is 34 35 years old, 34 years old. Like, Emmanuel Sanders is probably toast. And Gabriel Davis is heading into his second season where he just had 7 touchdowns with the Bills. And he also actually had a few dropped touchdowns as well. Like, he could have had more than 7 touchdowns. So I do like the Gabriel Davis upside in the 11th round. And obviously, like, I talked through the roster construction for the best ball stuff. I draft a lot of wide receivers in this format because the other part of this, guys, you start 3 wide receivers each week, you start 2 running backs each week, and then you have 1 flex. And the way I think about that is kind of like you start 4 wide receivers and 2 running backs because wide receivers just have kind of a higher ceiling. And there's just guys late in drafts that still can have spike weeks. Like Jalen Reagor and Gabriel Davis and Elijah Moore are not going to be consistent. But I just need like 2 or 3 wide receiver 1 weeks out of them. And I think this team wide receiver scoring is going to be really strong. I've also just completely ignored the quarterback position, which is probably not amazing. But it's the one position you kind of can do that for, right, in fantasy. Like there's plenty of starting quarterbacks still left, and I'm probably going to end up just drafting 3 quarterbacks, and that's just going to be the end of it for me. Dalvin Cook, yeah, he's the 2nd overall pick. As a Michigan fan, I'd like to hear what you think about the Michigan rookies. Pay, Mayfield, and Nico. Is Nico Collins? Let me double check this here. Nico Collins is in a really interesting spot. Thoughts on ETN? Yeah, Yarjmal, I'll get to that. Thoughts on Nico Collins, though. I actually have drafted him, I feel like, in a decent amount in best ball so far because he is... Yeah, Nico Collins is the Nico you were talking about. Now, and I'm sorry, I'm not great at what college everyone went to, but Nico Collins should start for the Texans this season. So I'm pretty excited about Nico Collins. I don't know about those other guys, though. My thoughts on ETN have kind of changed a little bit. Originally, my initial reaction after Travis Etienne was picked was like, okay, well, now I can't draft James Robinson at all in fantasy, and I probably shouldn't draft Travis Etienne at all because they're both going to be involved in an offense that I'm not that excited about the Jaguars' offense. I'm not that confident in Urban Meyer. I am pretty confident in Trevor Lawrence being really good, but if James Robinson's going to get the first and second down carries, the only scenario that Travis Etienne's going to work out is if he gets a lot of targets. But I actually think he's going to get a lot of targets, which is why I'm actually okay drafting Travis Etienne. And I actually drafted him in this draft, I think, in the 5th round. If we go back to the draft board here, yeah, I took him in the 5th round as my 3rd running back. In a half PPR league, I would feel much better about it in a PPR league. But Travis Etienne could see 80-plus targets this season. There's already been reports he's playing receiver. Those are the most silly reports because they come out every season, about half the running backs. But I do actually think that Travis Etienne's going to have a big receiving role for the Jaguars, and he could get 80-plus targets. And the other good thing that's good for Travis Etienne is that he's on, Travis Etienne is on a team that spent a first-round pick on him. And that's a very big deal. Justin Fields gets picked 1 pick before me, which is just demoralizing. Big Show 40, I definitely would have picked Justin Fields with this pick, and now I have to settle for Matt Ryan, which I don't feel great about. Matt Ryan post Julio Jones, but I did actually draft Russell Gage and Kyle Pitts, so I actually ended up working out okay for me in terms of the Falcons stack somehow that I ended up getting. I'm gonna have to draft another tight end at some point, probably soon. I should do that. I think I'm probably gonna take one with this next pick. Baker Mayfield. We saw 3 straight quarterbacks go. I still need 2 more quarterbacks, but I ended up getting Matt Ryan decent price here. Elliott or Eckler? Elliott over Eckler, but it's definitely actually pretty close. I think they're both 1st round picks. Anthony Ferguson gets picked. I'm gonna go with Blake Jarwin, who's probably not going to be at all consistent. I'm going to need Kyle Pitts to do really, really well for this team to do well, or I'm going to be getting 0 points in my tight end column. But I don't think I'm going to draft another tight end because they're all so bad that are left. All of these guys are probably going to have more 0-point weeks than anything. So that Rob Gronkowski, is he actually going to be consistent? They shouldn't use him that much in the regular season. They should literally just preserve him for the playoffs. That is the optimal Rob Gronkowski strategy from the Buccaneers' perspective. So it's hard to draft him in fantasy football, even though he probably will score some touchdowns. Blake Jarwin, at least, was supposed to be the starting tight end for Dallas. I don't like drafting guys coming off Achilles injuries, though. That's like the dead stone worst injury to come off of. Barkley, where are you drafting him? I was drafting him second overall not that long ago, and then all these reports came out that they might bring him along slowly, and that he might not even play week 1, and like this is concerning. This is very concerning reports. And it is enough for me to knock him like all the way down to 6th overall pick. He's still a first round pick. I think I would take him 6th. I think the order I would go in the first round, and obviously this probably isn't going to end up being perfect. We're never perfect in fantasy in the first round. Like, this is important to understand. But with the information we have now, I think the order I would go in is Christian McCaffrey definitely number 1 overall. I could not be convinced otherwise. Dalvin Cook 2nd. I think I would go Derrick Henry 3rd in a half PPR or standard league, but Alvin Kamara 3rd in a PPR league. Whoever's not 3rd is 4th. So I'd go Derrick Henry, then Alvin Kamara. Then at 5th, I think I would go Zeke. Then at 6th, I think I would go Saquon Barkley. And then at 7, it gets interesting. 7, I think it becomes Travis Kelce versus Austin Eckler versus Jonathan Taylor versus Tyreek Hill. Like, you could go a lot of different directions from 7 through 10. But I think that's my general analysis. Sluis, how is it going, my man? Great to see you in here. Sluis, I've already done. You're not going to like this, but I've already done. This is, I think, my 133rd draft. We are in June. We are in June. We are not even yet in July. And we have done, where can we view this list? What list are you discussing? If you're talking about the draft that I'm doing right now, you just come to YouTube. Look up WalterPicks on YouTube. We are live on YouTube right now. We are in the 14th round of this draft. You can see the draft board as we're watching live on YouTube. Just look up WalterPicks on YouTube. But Sluis, I've never done so much fantasy football this early. I feel like literally every year of my life, literally since like 6th grade, I've done more fantasy football every year. And it's the same is true as this year. I've literally been drafting since literally before the NFL draft. Absolutely insane. And that might end up being a bad thing in the long run for my season-long leagues. We will see. Yeah, I'm going to need more mocks, definitely. Not really digging my team. Ank 55, let's check it out. You start with Saquon Barkley 7th. I think Saquon Barkley 7th overall, like, is you almost have to take him. If he falls all the way to 7, you almost have to take him. Like, Saquon Barkley is still one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen in, like, the history of the world, not even just the history of the NFL. And if he can just stay healthy for a season, he's going to be very good for fantasy. Stephon Diggs in the 2nd round, I already told you I really liked that pick. J.K. Dobbins in the 3rd, I didn't love. Robert Woods in the 4th, I think, is good. I think Matthew Stafford is going to lift that entire offense. It's why I like Tyler Higbee so much this season. Mark Andrews in the 5th. I don't love Mark Andrews. They drafted Rashad Bateman. They brought in Sammy Watkins. Like, is Mark Andrews going to get consistent enough targets to really return the value we're used to out of Mark Andrews? I'm not so sure. The bottom line for Mark Andrews is going to end up being touchdowns. And I do think that betting on Lamar Jackson, generally speaking, is a good bet to make. So I still don't hate Mark Andrews, but I also think there's a little bit more risk than past seasons with him. Dak Prescott in the 6th, that was an auto pick, I think, but I still don't hate it. Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert, they're both kind of in the same tier for me. Guys, Dak Prescott was on pace, literally, to break the passing yards record last season before he was injured. He was averaging like 350 yards per game, like something insane like that. And he has the same nasty receivers he had last season. So it wouldn't be totally shocking for him to have an astronomical season. I think that how many teams in this league? 12. There's 12 teams in this league. In the 7th round, you went with Juju. Juju's such an interesting case. Like, Juju, I think, at this point is better than what people realize. But also, they're saying he's going to play in the outside and not in the slot. And, like, we've never really seen him not in the slot, so that is going to be really interesting this season. I'm also pretty nervous about Big Ben. I think Chase Claypool has the most upside in the offense, and Deontay Johnson was also like number 1 receiver kind of throughout last season. So all 3 of them, like at least one of those 3 is probably going to end up completely busting in fantasy, especially because Najee Harris was picked, and they're probably going to be more run heavy now. James Robinson in the 8th, I don't love that pick either. I think he's still going to be involved 1st and 2nd downs, but he's got very, very little receiving upside now. Jalen Waddle is going to be a boomer bust guy. I think he's good for best ball though. Same thing with Corey Davis, Melvin Gordon, and Jamal Williams. I think you're going to need some injuries for this squad to work out. I think I agree. I'm not in love with this team that's in the middle here. Ank 55 with the 7th overall pick. I do think that there's a lot of good picks in there though. I want to do a dynasty league, but I never have before. Any tips? Yeah. I'd say that my biggest piece of advice, if you do a dynasty league, like try to do it with people that are really invested in the league and that you really believe will do the league more than 2 seasons. Because the average dynasty league, people don't talk about this at all. I love dynasty, by the way. And I'm in a few dynasty leagues, and I think they're a lot of fun. And I think the strategy behind them is really exciting. And honestly, the most fun part about dynasty leagues is everyone's rankings in dynasty is like wildly different. Like you'll never really find 2 people with the same dynasty rankings. But it's not fun when the league does not last longer than 2 years, because the whole concept is that it's a league that lasts forever. So I try to find a league you can trust that will last like a while. Sometimes if you just go, like there's certain websites you can go on that you can guarantee that the league will continue. FFPC is one of them, and I think MFL, and FFPC. Those are the 2 I know of. But I'm not in love with either of the platforms. But those are leagues that like they'll fill the spots if people leave. But so that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be to get a mix of young and veteran players. A lot of people only go for young players, which I think is okay, but you end up missing out on really good players in the now. And like you can win in the first season in a dynasty league. You don't need to start as a rebuild. Like you can literally draft Julio Jones in the 15th round of a dynasty league and like win the league in your first season. So I would say get a mix of young and veteran players. Tips for 2 QB auction. 2 QB leagues. First of all, auction leagues. I'm not in. I think I'm every year. I'm only in like 1 auction league, and I have been like petitioning every league I'm in to move to an auction league every year. It never ends up happening. Your app isn't on Android, Matt. It's coming. I promise it's coming, but it's not right now. I'm hoping to have it out before the NFL season starts. But there is a chance that it's a little later than that, Matt. But I promise, Matt, it is coming. The Android version is coming. But the CM Lawler 5. LO, not in the 15th, relax. Yeah, Z-Dad, that was probably an exaggeration. We're talking Dynasty, but I haven't done a Dynasty startup in a while, to be honest. It's been about a month. But Julio Jones probably is going like very late. Probably round 8 maybe would be realistic. I'm not sure. He probably has 2 or 3 more seasons left in him. But yeah, auction drafts are by far and away, pretty clearly, the most fair way to draft. Like you get a chance at every player, and like it is clearly the most fair way to do things. It's why a FAB budget, FAAB, is like the most fair way to do waiver wire, right? Everyone is blind bidding on players with the same amount of budget. Like that is the most fair way to do it. And auction drafts are the same thing, but for your draft, like I think that's the best way. But I do think that in a 2 QB league, auction draft or just normal draft, like you need to get a couple good quarterbacks. And really you want 3 quarterbacks. And because you want 3 quarterbacks, so does everyone else. So if it's a 12-person league, do the math. Like not everyone can have 3 starting quarterbacks. So first of all, they have value for that reason, but then they also have this added value in Dynasty, especially 2 QB leagues, where quarterbacks have the longest career arc by far in the NFL, and it's actually getting longer. Like, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's 59 years old. No, I'm just kidding. He's like 40 years old, and he is still winning Super Bowls, and he led the league in deep targets per game, and he was a top 10 fantasy football quarterback last season. And we're going to see this trend continue. So, like, quarterbacks also maintain value for a long time. So, investing in young quarterbacks is a safe bet in 2 QB leagues because you know that, like, there's a really good chance next year, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, like a lot of Lamar Jackson, all these guys are going to still be really, really good. So, there's kind of this added benefit in that sense, too. Top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. Mine is probably Pat, Allen, Rodgers, Lamar, Russ. I don't think I would put Russ or Dak over Murray. I think the top 5, in my opinion, are very clearly number 1, Patrick Mahomes, number 2, Josh Allen, and number 3 and 4, kind of tied almost for me, is Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. I think if I was forced to, I'd put Kyler Murray ahead of Lamar Jackson just because Kyler Murray's a better passer, but Lamar Jackson's also arguably the best rushing quarterback of all time already. He's literally like going to rush for 1,000 yards again this season. But the passing is the biggest thing with Lamar Jackson, and Kyler Murray, like we know, is going to have like many 300-yard games. So I think I would go with Kyler Murray just like maybe 1 spot ahead of Lamar Jackson. Those are the top 4. I think number 5 is Dak. I think number 5 would be Dak for me. But I think he's a little tier below those guys because he's the one that doesn't rush as much. Kyler Murray's so bad. Kyler Murray is so good in fantasy football, though. He didn't end the season well, Josh, but he also started the season. He was averaging almost literally 30 fantasy points a game. I understand if you were frustrated with him at the end of last season. Honestly, I think a lot of the blame should fall on Cliff Kingsbury, who was supposed to be this like amazing offensive coach who really has not done great. How did the other draft go? This is the other draft. This is the community $5 draft. Take a look at the draft board here. We started off. Honestly, I think everyone's first 4 rounds were really strong, and I want to take a look through some of these rosters before we wrap up here. We only have 2 picks left each. Use these picks wisely, guys, because remember, in these leagues, there's no in-season management. Every pick matters, but realistically, the last 2 picks they don't matter that much. Let's be real, because all of these guys are probably going to be terrible. Because we're in the 17th round, and Byron Pringle and Deshaun Jackson are getting picked because it's the 17th round of a fantasy draft. And I usually don't draft a 4th quarterback, but also look at my quarterbacks. I'm not feeling great about them, so I might do it in this draft. Kenny Gainwell, maybe. I didn't really want another running back. I'll go with De'Ami Brown first. Let's take a look here. I got 1 pick left. We're about to enter the last round. Lamar chokes under pressure in key games. I'm also a Ravens fan. Yeah, I know. I really hope Lamar Jackson has some playoff success in his career, because it's going to be so annoying if that's how he's remembered. He needs to have I just hope he has a long career, because if he just has a long career, if he can last another 5 to 10 years, which could be tough for the way that he plays, he's gonna have at least one good playoff run. He's so good. He just has always struggled in. Are you still doing props? If so, how much is it per month? Yeah, Colin, we are still doing props. It is $5 per month, or if you do the annual plan, which is $60 a year. And Derek Carr got snagged in front of me, so I'm gonna go with Kenny Gainwell instead. At the end here and get 5 running backs. So I end with 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends. I'm doing a live draft on YouTube with some of the viewers right now, but I do think that back to the prop bet question. Sorry, we are doing NBA props. We have not posted as many props throughout the playoffs just because there's less games and there's just less exploitable lines, and we're not going to post anything that we're not confident about. We've had a little bit over 55% accuracy in the NBA. We've had over 60% accuracy in the NFL, and we will continue doing those throughout the NFL season. But it's $60 for the year. $60 for the year right now. Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson, full PPR. Does Goff like tight ends? Yes. I mean, well, Jared Goff is going to have to like tight ends. What are his options? Jared Goff is dropping back. His options are going to be Brashad Perriman, Quintez Cephas, Tyrell Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. Who would you throw to? It's going to be TJ Hawkinson. It's going to be DeAndre Swift. That's why both those guys I'm in on right now in fantasy drafts. It's tough because Jared Goff isn't good, and the Lions aren't going to be good, just solely based off the receivers I just named. But they do have a good offensive line, and we know that a good offensive line will be really, really helpful for Jared Goff. We saw that night and day with the Rams when they had a good versus bad offensive line. But I do think that the team's going to struggle, but I think the volume could be there for Hawkinson and Swift. So I do like them both in fantasy. Do you have a podcast, Jay Rambo? Not at the moment. I actually used to, but I don't currently at the moment. But you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Look up WalterPicks on YouTube. We're actually live on YouTube right now doing a live draft. It's about to end. I want to just quickly look through the roster construction for everyone's team. Let's take a look at this. We have, see if I can do it this way. CSCH Wabi, 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 7 receivers, 2 tight ends. This is a little more running backs than I would draft, and Deshaun Watson's one of the quarterbacks, so that's probably not going to end up going very well. I don't think he's going to play this season, but if he does, this team's going to be absolutely nasty. I don't love the 2 tight ends. They're probably going to really struggle in tight end scoring. The receivers look really good, though. I do not expect this team to win, though, if I'm being totally honest. All right, we are done. We are fully officially done with the draft. Guys, thank you for drafting. I'm going to pull up the draft board here for a second, and we can take a look at this draft. And slickly went with 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, and 2 tight ends. I like this a lot. I think that the 2 quarterbacks look good. I don't hate that last Malcolm Brown pick, honestly, too. He's going to score some touchdowns. The receivers look pretty strong. I like the dart throw Kansas City receivers. One of Demarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman, or Byron Pringle, like one of those guys is going to end up being a value on best ball. This team's awful. Jones and Swift. Yeah, I mean, I think that Swift, honestly, is a guy that I'm talking myself into. I think I'm talking myself into DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift is going to have potential to get over 100 targets. And if he does that, he's going to be very, very, very good in half PPR and full PPR leagues. This tight end grouping also, I think, has upside, but honestly might be a little bit more inconsistent than what most people think. We have Schlicky and then Schlick28. Are you two in cahoots? Because those 2 usernames are honestly very very similar. I don't know if that's just like random or not. Kyler Murray, Carson Wentz, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I don't think I would draft a 3rd quarterback if I drafted Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray is so consistent and you spent an early round pick on him, but I still think these 3 quarterbacks will do well. Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, Darrell Henderson. I mean, you got Derrick Henry. David Montgomery will give you probably consistent around 10 points, and then hopefully Zach Moss and Darrell Henderson can kind of be like a breakout guy later in the season. Or I think Zach Moss is an intriguing pick that late. DeAndre Hopkins, Odell, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams. Good start to the receiver group. I think that he ended pretty strong as well. Denzel Mims is falling really, really, really late, like in every draft. You got him pick 190. Like, he's still, like, this is a guy, Denzel Mims, he apparently, like, was literally playing behind, like, every receiver on the Jets in rookie camp or the OTAs or whatever they were doing before training camp. But, like, it's not even training camp yet. And we know Denzel Mims has a pretty good college profile, so he could still work out, but probably not. Olamide Zaccheaus, Calvin Ridley, I like that stack a lot. I think this was one of my favorite teams at the start. Again, you drafted Lamar Jackson. I don't think I would have drafted a 3rd quarterback because you can only start 1 quarterback a week, and it's going to be Lamar Jackson for you almost every single week. But I do really like the squad. I think Gerald Everett was a really good pick as well, right at ADP. And you definitely made the right move drafting 3 tight ends. I think this is one of the strongest teams. I think running back is a little bit of a concern. I don't love Ronald Jones. I think Chase Edmonds and A.J. Dillon, though. A.J. Dillon's honestly one of my favorite 0 running back targets. One, because if Aaron Rodgers comes back, that'll help him. But also, like, he's going to get the Jamal Williams role. He's going to get 40% of the carries, and he was pretty effective on the ground last season. And he could end up getting that goal line role, like he profiles as a goal line running back. I think this was my favorite team at the beginning. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, very strong 2 quarterbacks. Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Damian Harris, Devin Singletary. Those 4 running backs probably would have been enough. I don't think either of these other 2 guys are going to do anything for you. But the other 4 running backs are probably going to be enough. I like DeAndre Swift. What do you think about Saquon Barkley this year? Yeah, G Slaggle 33. I think Saquon is a guy that I'm a little nervous about based on the reports, but I would take him as early as 7th overall, which is where he went in this draft. CeeDee Lamb, Adam Thielen, Curtis Samuel. I think I like Rondale Moore a lot too. Who is the quarterback again? Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. And you got TJ Hawkinson as well. Yeah, I won't be surprised at all if this team ends up winning. I definitely think they have a chance. I don't know. I honestly have not seen this name. I got to look up this name because it's very rare. This is I do a lot of football analysis, and I got to make sure I understand who this is because he was picked in the first 200 picks of this draft. Someone can let me know if you know who this guy is. If you're watching live on YouTube as we're doing this like final recap here. IOC though, I think this team has a very legitimate chance to win. I think I'm gonna like this team a lot too. I love the 2 quarterbacks, and I like that you stuck with 2 quarterbacks, Ryan Tannehill, Jameis Winston, both at pretty good value. I think Jameis Winston is one of the best values in best ball drafts right now. If he does win the starting quarterback role, he's gonna put up points. Yo, what app is this? This is called the Underdog app. And if you use the code Walter when you first join, you'll get a free $25 with your first deposit. Like literally just deposit $10 and they'll give you $25. I think, did we look at Team 4? I'll look at Team 4 in a second if we didn't look at Team 4 slash. Antonio Gibson, Gaskin, Kareem Hunt, J.D. McKissick. This is a lot of running backs. This is way too many running backs. 8 running backs. Too many running backs. You should not draft 8 running backs in this type of league. I do think that the wide receivers are strong, the first 4, but like I don't know if this is going to be enough receivers for you to get it done. Travis Kelce is going to be really good at tight end, but honestly, I don't love the 8 running backs. I think that was a force. The 4th team here. Yeah, we looked at this team, right? I think we did look at this team. All right, this is the Saquon Barkley team, 7th overall. Again, 4 quarterbacks I think is too many. But you also, this is a very safe approach in a way, but it also limits upside at other positions, right? Because there's an opportunity cost of drafting 4 quarterbacks. But you also are very safe at the quarterback position. All 4 of these guys are going to start, and so you're going to get at least 20 points, maybe at least 25 every single week at the quarterback position. I think your running backs are pretty solid with Saquon. He's going to need to work out for you to do well, though, because if he doesn't, I think you could get the lowest running back scoring in the league. I like the wide receivers, but again, I think this is too few. 6 wide receivers to me is not enough in this format. All 5 of the first guys are pretty intriguing, but is Juju, Waddle, Corey Davis going to be consistent enough to fill in that 3rd wide receiver slot? I'm not so convinced. I think you might struggle in wide receiver scoring a little. Mark Andrews, Jonnu Smith is pretty good, though. All right, let's take a look at the 8th pick. Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Nyheim Hines. This is a super fragile roster. Only 3 running backs, but you started with 2 really, really strong running backs, so I don't hate it. Quarterback, you ended up going with 3, even though you drafted Mahomes. But your last one was Cam Newton with your last pick, so I guess it's not terrible. But you have very strong quarterbacks, a lot of receivers. Yeah, this team definitely could come in first in this league. Literally, if Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon stay healthy this season, this team's probably going to come in first place in this league because of the roster construction they put together and how many wide receivers they have. The tight ends, again, yeah, this team definitely could come in first. I think tight ends are a little fragile here, too. Hayden Hurst probably won't be very consistent. All right, we got a couple more teams to look at, then we will wrap up the stream. I wanted to quickly look through everyone's team before we wrapped up. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in and that joined. Yeah, we can see my team in a second. I had the 11th pick. We're going in order here. This is the 9th overall pick. Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, 4 running backs, 2 of which should get consistent volume. Honestly, Gus Edwards is going to get consistent volume too. I don't hate him in these best ball drafts. And then a lot of receivers and a lot of top-end talent. You got Devonta Smith, so I'm automatically going to like your team for that reason, too. Tyler Higbee, Logan Thomas. Yeah, this literally looks like a team I would draft. I think that I like this squad a lot. This team definitely has a chance to win as well. Let's take a look at the 10th pick. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Jared Goff. I like it. I don't know if Jared Goff was necessary. You got him really late, though. I like the first 2 running backs. Clyde, I think you took Clyde a little early. Pick 10. His average draft position is 21, but he easily could still end up returning value. Aaron Jones was a good pick right at ADP. Aaron Jones, I'm not that excited about him because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, I think the offense is going to be atrocious. But if Aaron Rodgers does play, Aaron Jones is going to be a top 10 fantasy running back again. And he might not be super consistent because A.J. Dillon will take work from him just like Jamal Williams did. And A.J. Dillon might even steal some of the goal line carries. But Aaron Jones will always be, Aaron Jones right now is the 2nd best receiver on the Packers. Leonard Fournette, James Conner, and Todd Gurley are all pretty much trash in my opinion. I think Leonard Fournette is probably the best bet out of those 3. James Conner is also, he does have some upside because the Cardinals did show they wanted to feed Kenyon Drake the ball consistently last season when Chase Edmonds was more efficient. That could happen again with James Conner, but Kyler Murray's always going to steal a lot of the red zone carries. The receivers look really good here, though. And the tight ends, you ended up drafting 3. We don't even know where Zach Ertz is playing yet this season. I don't think this team is in the top 5 in this league, though. I'm not a huge fan. All right. My squad, my 3 quarterbacks are terrible. I did get to stack Matt Ryan with Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage, which isn't terrible. And I did draft 3, which should help me out. 2 of them have a week 6 bye, so God help me with Sam Darnold at week 6. Running backs, I ended up drafting 5. 2 of which are rookies in Travis Etienne and Kenny Gainwell. Cam Akers and Chris Carson, I'm going to need them to get consistent volume for this team to have any chance. I think that I have a pretty strong running back group, but also Travis Etienne, Raheem Mostert, and Kenny Gainwell are all pretty risky running backs. I need Travis Etienne to get 80 targets, I think, for that running back group to do well. I did take Tyreek Hill in the first round, which is good, so he should be my number 1 receiver most weeks. T. Higgins, Gallup, Russell Gage, I think those 3 can combine kind of for a lot of consistent wide receiver 2 weeks. The rest of the guys are completely boom or bust and have a lot of risk associated with them. And I need Kyle Pitts to do well. Honestly, I do not think I'm going to end up winning this league. I think I maybe rank between 4 and 6 in my mind after looking through all these teams. This last team, Aaron Rodgers, Mayfield, Carr. He drafted 3 quarterbacks, which is good because Aaron Rodgers literally might not play. Jonathan Taylor, then 4 rookie running backs. Very interesting. I think that the running backs, the first 3, though, could do really well. I don't think Michael Carter is going to be consistent at all. Chuba Hubbard also probably won't see the field with Christian McCaffrey, but in an event of an injury, he could do well. I did really like that team. It was this team, the Austin Eckler team. We'll look at that one more time. Julio Jones, Allen Robinson, Deontay Johnson, DJ Chark. Yeah, I don't love all of these receivers, but they all definitely have a lot of upside. And yeah, these 2 tight ends are super fragile. Like, you waited too long for tight end, I think. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to have any legitimate tight end scoring unless Adam Trautman really, really pans out well. I think he's going to have some good weeks, but I don't think he's going to be that consistent. I think ultimately, this was probably my favorite team. They only drafted 3 running backs, so like they're going to need Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler to do really well, but they also got a ton of really, really high upside receivers, and their quarterback's obviously solid with Patrick Mahomes. During the NFL season, what's the amount of player prop picks per week? It changes week to week. Last year it was anywhere between 5 and like 15. So it depends week to week. It depends how many exploitable player prop picks Walter identifies in a given week. It's really not up to me. It is up to the algorithm. But usually between 5 and 15. Yeah, I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait for the NFL season. We are like 70-ish days away. Not that I'm counting. Guys, thank you for tuning into this live stream. I had a lot of fun on this live stream. I was pumped to be able to do a draft with all of you. I'm going to be back live again this week. I'm going to be starting a more consistent schedule starting next week. So definitely stay tuned for that. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your night. Thank you for tuning in. It has been a lot of fun. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. Have a good one, guys.